That's actually true. When I was running my last, everybody ready to drink? Because you know I'm going to say it. When I ran my last Earth Dawn game, Earth Dawn means you drink. For the people who don't know, when
I don't have
Earth
a drink
Dawn
at
is the
hand,
drinking game. We get one.
Beer back.
And Bruce, you are echoing. When I hear other people's chat coming through your stuff.
I don't know why.
But so when I ran, so they didn't. Remember, this game failed. Ultimately, this game failed. I bombed my last Earth Dawn campaign I've talked about. And one of the ways it failed is because I didn't understand how newer gamers looked at games. Ultimately, this game failed. And I hear myself in the background there. And what was happening was, instead of trying to figure out their characters on their own, they're like, well, what do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? What does he want? And I'm like, what do you mean? Play your character. What do you think a scout should do? What do you think a swordmaster should do? Yada yada. And like, well, what is it you want from us? I said, well, you don't try any techniques. Like, well, we don't know what the techniques are. Like, you don't know how to say, like, I rush forward and attack. You don't know how to say, like, hey, I want to hold up my shield and give some ground. So what I did is I created a cheat sheet for the casters. I did it, the different weird casting things they can do, like holding threads, like casting multiple threads or weaving multiple threads in one round in order to get a spell off quicker. For the fighters, giving ground, aggressive attack, all these different things, right? And then they started paying attention to that sheet. I want 75 legend points, so that means this round I'm going to split my movement. But you're not doing it because it makes combat sense. No, I want the 75 legend points. I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you people? You're supposed to be roleplay. This is stuff that just happens during play. I want to give you those legend points, but I want you to do it organically. Like, well, you gave us a sheet. I just want to get these things knocked out. So I absolutely agree with the whole that's possible. So good comment there, Akita. That's on the Rumble side. But what are you guys' thoughts and so forth about milestones? We'll start with Bruce. Bruce, hop in here. Welcome.
First off, do we have an echo?
Keep talking. We'll find out. It seems like it's gone now.
Hey, Hungar, how you doing?
Hey, Bruce, what's up? I'm chatting on your channel on the live stream and having it streaming on mine, so I'm like breaking all the walls.
Okay. I feel the milestone experience points is a poor man's attempt to try and do an end run around traditional simple mathematics that one could use to do their income taxes with. And instead of putting in the hard work and notating every little sliver of experience points that you receive, people would rather just say,
at the end of the dungeon, we're just going to press a button and you automatically level. You're going to automatically just get your level because you were part of the process. Even if all you did was just jam memes on your phone in our Facebook group or Discord and totally ignored everything until it was your time to swing a sword.
Just stuck up the head like, I attacked now.
Yeah, but okay. My question is, how does getting XP for monsters change that though? Because the person might just as well not be paying attention and just say, I swing my sword, and then he happens to kill like an ogre, and he still gets the XP. So either way, he's not paying attention.
Why I say this, Victor, is because the people that prefer milestone leveling actually are shortcutting themselves out of the entire experience of old school gaming.
Yeah.
Because whenever you do something for your character class, and I'll use Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Ed, for example, when you do something for your character class, like you've slain a monster, you get 10 experience points as a fighter type. If you're a thief, you get a variable amount of experience points for whatever type of thief skill you do to further the group's goals. If you're a wizard, you get 100 experience points times the spell level for casting a spell in combat to further the party's goals. So you can either ignore those small incremental bits of granular experience points. You can ignore that because you might, if you do all your addition right and you figure out, like doing your taxes, how your deductions work, you might get more back than what you actually would have gotten if you just got to the bottom and pressed a fucking button. If you would have done it right in the first place and done granular experience points and for everything that you did right or wrong, you were rewarded or penalized, but you continued to play, there would be more reward that a person could get than by simply gaining a level by getting to the bottom of the dungeon. You might actually have things to where, as a character, as a Lord level character, a lot of DMs and a lot of books and Dragon Magazine articles would say reward experience points for the guy that builds a business. Reward experience points to the person who puts up an inn or builds a shop or puts up a castle and seeks to tax the people in the gentry.
Well, that's kind of funny because Palladium does something similar to that.
Yeah, well, amazing, because at the time, Palladium was one of the major games that was actually doing that and trying to focus games to where, hey, there's more than combat, guys. Hey, guys, there's more than combat. You might average top out around 5th or 6th level for a few years or maybe a year of play, but there's more than this game than just fucking rolling D20s and damage and mega damage.
But I think saying that you hit the bottom of the dungeon and then everyone gets XP is not doing it justice, at least in my experience, because I've actually played in games that use milestones, and it's not about hitting the bottom of the dungeon. It's about you spend 5 hours role playing and like solving this really like difficult mystery, and you've got the solution, and now you know where the dragon's lair is that you've been searching for like months. So the GM is like, hey, good job, everyone. Here's like fucking 10,000 XP. I don't know. I'm just pulling a number out my ass. Meanwhile, you're still slaying monsters. You're fighting orcs. You're doing all sorts of stuff. And I've been in games where actually people do both. You get milestone XP and you get the XP for slaying monsters. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, putting it in like that black and white terms is not my experience.
But and Crafty is correct. They're doing story progression experience point based awards, and the worst part about it is that the game that should be rewarding the granular accumulation of experience points actually went away from it. And in the Paizo Adventure Paths after 2014, they said if you want to do milestone XP, when the players get to this point in the adventure, give them a level. When the players get to this point in the adventure, give them a level. When the players get to this point at the end of the adventure and they've killed the big bad guy at the end of the dungeon, give them a level.
Yeah, I think that's the part of milestones I don't agree with. The other stuff I generally understand and agree with, but I don't agree with that part. And I do have an answer to Victor after Hunger goes.
I use XP for lower levels, but once my party gets around 14th, 15th level, I start using milestones more often because they're going to be fighting big bads most of the time. And, after 2 or 3 game sessions, sometimes I'll be like, yo, here, have a level. And sometimes it'll be like 7, 8 game sessions. I'll be like, yeah, you guys can have a level. I mean, I don't throw levels around like they're, yay, you get a level, you get a level, you get a level. I'm not Oprah.
Come on, Oprah, give me my level.
I'm not an Oprah level giver. But, once a party gets a lot higher level, I start using milestones more often. I don't use them at low levels. I like low levels. You get your XP, you fight the monster. But once it gets high level, it just makes the game a little more streamlined for the players.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I take the point that that's lazy game mastering, but I also understand that at some point when you're tallying up all those things, because let's use 2nd edition AD&D, and I might not have this perfectly right, but it's close enough. Though the fighter gets the XP for the monster, or his percentage of the XP for the monster. Let's say it's worth 6,000 XP, and he's one of 6 people, he gets 1,000 XP, right? But he also gets for the amount of damage that he did, but only the fighter gets that. The thief, on the other hand, gets extra experience for the amount of gold found, amount of treasure found, and the amount and the ability to use the skills. It's supposed to promote using your class abilities, and when you're doing what your class does, if that's all your dungeon is, or not dungeon, if that's all your adventure is just fight, yeah, the fighter's gonna do the best. But when there are other things involved in it, the wizard learning spell components or making spells, casting spells, the thief doing thiefly stuff, the priest, converting people and casting, miracles and so forth, then they spread out differently. But I also get the fact that some people are like, that's just too much. I personally, first of all, I toned down some of the XP because I also throw out role-playing XP. And like you said, killing the big bad, like let me get this comment up here from Mr. Max. I don't understand the big deal between milestones or not. If you defeat an encounter through combat or other means, you get XP. But the XP is different. A fighter gets a different amount of XP than the wizard. And that's intentional because the fighter's job is to fight.
It depends on the game. Because even in 5e, everyone gets the same amount of XP for defeating the enemies, and then it's like split between everyone. So,
well, see, that's just one part of it in the old school games, and if your game's built around that, also classes leveled at different speeds, especially back then. Even the Palladium games, which use a different type of XP chart, the classes level at different speeds, so it's expected that there's gonna be a little bit more combat. So the fighter probably isn't, is gonna have a higher XP total than say the thief. But with that said, I do use a hybrid milestone system because I will give you XP for good role playing. I will give you XP, when Bruce is done painting that miniature there and they kill it. If that's like a core part of the adventure and you find out that tongue can be used for a magical component, I will give you 50 XP for that. Not just one person, anybody who really talked about it. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty much a bad example. It's usually for finding secrets or getting through figuring out some sort of weird puzzle or getting information from somebody they talk to. Well, that should just be the
doors.
What's that? Secret doors, sure.
Yeah.
Now, that I usually only give to the thief, but whoever finds it really, But anyway, there's nothing inherently wrong with either a pure XP system or a pure milestone system, except for I just think in most games, not all, that having a pure milestone system that when you get to this bottom floor, everybody levels up, cheapens it. And that, again, what a lot of folks have been telling me recently is that's not milestones, Max. That is some weird absolutist milestone thing that nobody ever does. If that's the case, fine. But that's how it was originally explained to me. So that's how, when I think of milestones, that's what I think of. Getting to the bottom of that floor and doing the ding, everybody gets a level. No, I because then I can just sit back and not do shit and let you guys do everything. And I think
in my experience, there has to be like an important part of the story attached that you just solved or progressed or whatever. And it's not just like, I hit the bottom of the dungeon, ding. Like, no, you hit the bottom of the dungeon and now you figured out some great mystery that will help you further in the campaign. Then you maybe get like that bit of XP or a level depending on which version you use. But
guys, I'm gonna bounce. My roommate's TV is getting extremely loud. I can barely hear you.
Okay.
And I think I can hear it in the background there now. So, but thank you, Hungar. I have your channel in the description, but if you want to tell folks what you're doing this upcoming week, go ahead.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I will be talking about whatever I talk about, and you guys will watch it and like it.
It's funny. I can see you guys co-streaming at the top of my screen here.
Nice.
It shows it in StreamYard.
That's awesome.
You know me, Hungar the Starvarian. Come check me out if you want a mystery box stream.
You know what Hungar has and nobody else does? Hungar has shirt.
You've got the hair shirt.
Nice.
I fucking love the shirt, dude.
Yeah, baby.
How many people do you wear that out in public? Because I want to know how many people say, "Is that Bob Ross?"
There's actually about 12 or 15 people that have stopped me like, dude, I love Bob Ross. Is he still on PBS?
Jaddo's son
He's got a
has
YouTube
two
channel.
of those. Jack has two of those, and he wears them to school.
So, by the way, for the couple comments about it, that's a cat you never see. So that's
the feral cat.
No, that's Nova. That's Nova Cat. That's not the feral one. He's my 7-year-old boy, and it looks like he puked on the floor.
Nice. I'll see you guys later. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Big Bad, I haven't forgotten about you, man. Big Bad did this design, by the way. Big Bad RPG did this design.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
I love
During
that.
the 24-hour stream for Veterans Day.
Wait, what?
During your 24-hour stream for Veterans
that's when he made it?
Yeah. And
my wife has that shirt.
That's why all the money from the t-shirts are going to Wounded Warrior.
I should send out that link to Wounded Warrior. You don't have to, but I was just wondering, did you guys want to join the whatever I call the Nerds and Warriors group for Wounded Warrior?
I got the link, and I'm working on getting it done.
Okay.
I had a rough couple of months, but I'm doing better.
You're welcome to do your own thing as well. I'm just saying, hey, we could pool our money together and make it even bigger. But
Let's pull our money together and make it bigger.
cool.
Well, I'm not a warrior, but I'm a decorated nerd. So does that count?
That's true.
As long as you want to give to the Wounded Warrior Project, which is American, but yeah, okay.
America.
Well,
You guys have a great night.
All right, Hunger, have a great night. Thanks for being here.
Bruce, good to see you, buddy.
The same,
Victor?
Hunger. It's been a while.
Laters, man.
Mr. Max, I'll probably stream for about another hour and a half, depending on how it goes, maybe longer. But my plan is to end about 10 o'clock my time, so I got about another hour and a half left. But you know how it goes here. If it's dead, it's dead, and I'll end it. If it's still going strong, I'll maybe stay longer. So
I'm showing here. This is out of just to help Crafty Matt understand. This is something that 5e probably borrowed from Paizo.
Okay.
And they started doing this milestone leveling. If you didn't want to do all the experience points, it just had a cheat sheet for you on page 5 of these stupid adventures. And you get notes there. They begin in 11th level. They should be 12th level by the time they begin part 2. They should be 13th level before entering the Reliquary of Ascension in part 4. The PCs should reach 14th level by the end of this adventure.
Yeah.
And that's just, I can't stand that. You want to say it's something about 5e, storytelling, whatever. That's your experience, and I'm happy for you.
No, that
You
is
know about 5e, but I've been dealing with this since 2013, and it fucking sucks.
That is newer 5e, to be honest, which is what Crafty was saying. Because if I remember right, originally in the Dungeon Master's Guide, what they call milestones is like you get XP for like doing certain stuff. And then beneath that, they do have like a method where you just get like a level, but they don't call it milestones yet. But then as you go to the later books, like Curse of Strahd or whatever, they straight up just call getting like a level for certain story stuff milestones. They just changed the terms around. I'm not sure when they exactly did that first time, but yeah.
all right.
But yeah, like I said earlier, I'll play with both methods. I have no real preference. I'll do whatever the GM wants to do. I just wanted to bring some nuance to the conversation.
I'll be honest. No, that, and you know that I welcome that.
Yeah.
The number one system for me for leveling up and for experience might surprise you. And cat, what do you? That's not the drawer you're supposed to dig. Whatever. I have a cat that's now in my cables drawer. Anyway, is Chaosium. I think Chaosium has the best leveling system. For my bang for buck, you use an ability, you roll. If you roll, if you fail the roll, because it gets harder as you get better. If you fail the roll, it goes up by a D4, and it's a percentile based system. That makes great sense to me. But and welcome, Mr. Max Bevon. How you doing? You're muted.
Muted.
Or should I say, comment allez-vous?
I'm still muted.
Still muted, sir.
He's also glowing or
Can you
very
hear me
pale,
now?
I can tell.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, was on the wrong output, and it's the camera. It's the camera that's fucking up. It's just like. Anyway, sorry. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so go ahead. You had some comments, so go ahead and you can bring them up. We're still talking about milestones. So
yeah, about the milestone versus the XP, I think like a big difference is like Victor said, it's depending on the games you're playing. Like if you're in a game where different characters level at different rate, like the old school game, then milestone doesn't work there because like it kind of screw up the balance of the game. In a way, I'm not the biggest balance guy, but if it's in the game, you should take it into account. If you're in a game like 5e where everything has been standardized, and just like the XP, then it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't.
The end result is pretty much the same. Yeah, like whether you're just killing 20 orcs and counting the XP together, or you say like you kill 20 orcs, here's like a level. Like I don't know.
See, and I would then say that's bad game design. Not the entire game, but at least that aspect
we're talking about
be...
5e, so.
Okay.
But also I think one thing I'm not a big fan of like people leveling in the middle of a dungeon, stuff like that. I think leveling should be done like between adventure, when you're in town, when you rest and stuff like that, when you have time to kind of like put your mind together and like integrate the learning thing you've done. So
Yeah, that's a tough one though, and I say that because, man, I agree with you. But sometimes you're in a larger dungeon, and you should be able to prepare for some of these things and not just go into a dungeon. To be fair, that was an actual viable way to play. Let's go in, clear out a couple rooms, go back home. Go in, clear a couple rooms, go back home. Take some time to train, go back in. But sometimes you get a little deep in those dungeons, or you're out in the wilderness too long, traveling to say between the desert and civilization, right? Where things can happen. And I always struggled with that. I did, where it's like, man, if I say no, you can't level up, you literally could gain 2 levels here before you see civilization again. At the same time, it's like, I don't want to cheapen the leveling experience. So there's always that weird balance. Some things like you'd get your bonuses immediately, but would you get a new spell?
And your ability and stuff like that, also for fighter, or like depending on the type of system you're playing. But there's also even if you're in the middle of a dungeon and you want to allow leveling in the dungeon, the character should need to have like a safe place to rest and some time to get some good like put their mind together and like take a little break at least. You don't do it like between 2 fights in the same day and all of a sudden I got all those, and especially in class system, because the level, it's like this big jump usually. Like you get new stuff, you get new skill, new spell, new ability. So it became a bit silly, I find, if all of a sudden like, oh, just an hour ago I didn't know to do that, and now like I know. Anyway, that's all.
It kind of depends on what like the bonus. If the bonus is like a +1 to hit, now that is a pretty that's a 5% bonus in a D20 game, right? I don't have a problem with that just being applied right away, because that's just showing that your footwork's a little better, your skills better. That experience that you got to that point, just that is built in. But when it's like a new power, especially on the wizard side. Now, most of the wizards in my game, they'll have spells in their spell book or on scrolls kind of ready to go. They'll have to take the time to write them out or get them, or have somebody else transcribe them there for them. But that spell selection might be a little tougher. But at some point, I've got to have that money sink in there for the characters, because otherwise gold just piles up.
That I agree as well. That like there was even some game that say like they would do like gold for XP, but also some game, I don't remember which one, that like it's not for the gold you take off the dungeon that you get the XP, it's for the gold you spend. Like you have to take it a dungeon and spend it on something. So
Bruce, you were gonna say something?
I was just going to say that I force my players to level up outside of a dungeon, and I tell them however many days that you leveled up, whatever your level is. So if you went from 9th to 10th, it'll take you 10 days before you get the full benefits of 10th level. You'll get the hit points, the saving throws, even to bump in your base attack bonus if there is one. But everything else, like your skills, any new feats you get, 10 days. Sorry.
And I agree with this. This is where I disagree with Elle. I don't think it's a video game, because I can tell you, somebody who took martial arts, I got better, but I didn't have to level up. I would get faster. I would get stronger. I would, the liniment oil helped the skinny forearms out here. But I mean, I could get better without having to spend that extra time. Now you could say, well, that's just training. But imagine you're out there in the woods fighting real goblins, real orcs, real trolls, real bugbears. I can see, like what Bruce was saying, that's a good example. Those basic things, those just basic fighting experience concepts, I can attack a little better, I can defend a little better. I don't really have too much of a problem with those going up. Anything that you have to, like, you don't know or can only be learned from, okay, I got to go get some more knowledge on this, then I fully agree that, training has to be there. So,
I coach a lot of people, and you see them, they get better like by step as well. Like I help people on bench, and they struggle and I also tell them, like, one time you're gonna get it, and then it's gonna make sense. You're gonna have like those eureka moment, I would assume it to be the same thing when you're fighting. Like you're practicing with your sword, there's something you're doing wrong. At some point you do it and it feels right, and then you get it. So I think it makes sense in that sense of the
what's up?
Oh God, Crafty Matt brings up a really good point. If you're playing in a Kingmaker style game, which my game currently does have that enabled on my Saturdays, and for those of you that just bought the 5th edition version of that, they did port over a lot of the concepts from Pathfinder's Kingmaker, you're going to burn through money like you've never gone through money before.
Well, yeah, because it turns into domain play like really quickly.
Yeah, domain play should be expensive.
But
I know
in
it
D&D,
sounds-
domain play doesn't start until level 9.
Well, domain play starts at level 1 for Kingmaker.
You can technically start it earlier. Nobody says you can't, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we all know that you can
Yeah.
change it, but I'm saying in basic speaking. But
Yeah.
what Bruce is saying is spot on. Same with Crafty. Forbidden Lands starts it at level 1.
And the thing is that a Kingmaker game is basically just domain play, and you can start it up at any level. But with that specific campaign path, you are already related to nobles in another land. They send you to an area to pacify it and just stop the bandit raids into that land. And you end up turning your little hamlet, your little inn, basically turns into a capital city with numerous other cities around. And you start getting truckloads and bucket loads and wagon loads of gold. But as soon as you receive those at the month's end and you do your rolls to see how stable the kingdom is and if there's any incursions or is there disease rampaging through the wilderness through the little hamlets,
You're playing Birthright.
it's fun. It's fun. And I know there's somebody out there screaming,
No, it's not. It's too much paperwork.
I'm so sorry. But the way Pathfinder designed, or the way the Pathfinder integrated Kingmaker made the game so much more than I get better with my sword. I learned how to cast 2 magic missiles when I cast a spell. No, it made it to where it's an actual game where you have to work with other players and you have to actually decide what are we going to improve? What's going to get an improvement this month?
And
How are we
that's
gonna
what I
make it
love
work?
about Forbidden Lands. And I don't have experience with the Kingmaker that you're talking about, but Forbidden Lands starts it off right from the get-go. And I actually prefer that style of gameplay because it includes the combat and the adventuring, the exploration. You guys heard me talk about this a lot. The social, the survival, the stronghold building. I love that it's all wrapped up into one neat package. So
Have a good
I agree
night,
with you,
Patty.
Bruce.
I just
And
wanted
I'll say
to.
good night to Patty. He's going off to play with the sun.
Yep. Have a good night.
And so, somebody in chat, Walter in chat, was asking what is domain play. Domain play is just when you are.
I've got that started. I want to get that after one. But no, good catch. But I do have that one started. But we're gonna hit this one first. Talk about leveling up. What do you think about a game that specifically designs so you level up between 3 and 6 times a year playing weekly games? Easy. I like that as a guideline. God dang it, I hate it when I do that. Not as a rule. And here's what I mean by that. Second edition, I don't know what book it came out in. I wish I could remember it because I'd quote it and I'd have that page mark. But maybe it's a Dragon magazine or something. But it said characters should level up every 3 to 5 adventures, not sessions, not weeks, not years, not whatever, but 3 to 5 adventures should be enough to level up a character. But obviously it's going to be determined by what the characters do in the game. I like that. I think that's a good speed since even in my games, most adventures took 3 to 4 weeks to run. So we're talking, a few months in between each level up. I'm totally cool with that. The time frame that you gave, I don't like, but then again, as a rule of thumb, I don't have a problem with that. And now, what do you guys think?
It depends also the game you're playing because, like, I just made a video about Pendragon. It's a game I really like, so it's a plug for my channel as well.
Oh, I got to add you to the list here.
In the Pendragon game, you expect it to do your knight is going to do 1 adventure a year, and then you have the winter phase, and in the winter phase, you basically level up where the skill you use during the adventure can raise level, and you can train and stuff like that. So if you do 1 adventure every session, but you're gonna level up basically every session, but your knight grow old much faster as well. But it's a generational play when you play the son of the knight and stuff like that. Okay. So it depends on but it's a different type of game in that sense. So you're gonna if you do what I don't like is when characters goes from level 1 to level 15 in 2 months in game play. That annoys me. Like it depends. Like, and even if you want to do if you leave a lot of downtime between adventure, you can make them level up faster because then, you assume that the character trained and did other stuff.
And that's where healing and training really come into play.
I agree.
And that's why I really love the aspects of healing and training. And so now some concepts of what we talked about here, like on the Rumble side is saying that I prefer skill-based games or class-based games. Yeah, there are different types of games that include different types of verisimilitude. It depends on how realistic you want to be. Some people in chat are saying, well, that's too computer gamey. I get that. I think that Bruce has a good balance in what he said. Those things that can naturally just get better, you don't have to have some sort of training in. I don't see why those can't be added outside of a dungeon. At the same time, those things that you really have to learn, I think you should have to go train for those. And if that means you don't get them until extra level later or something because you're out in the wilderness for a long time, that should add fun to the play. It shouldn't be, I don't get my abilities, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. No, you should be sitting there thinking like, man, my character grew differently than the character next to me or than the typical one. Slower, faster, better, different, whatever. Too many people complain about the numbers. Like, oh, I'm supposed to have a +2 right now and I don't have it. Well, if you want that, then you should play a skill-based game, not a class-based game, because they tend to be a little bit more forgiving about when those skills improve. I'm going to read a super chat, and then I'll get your guys' thoughts on this. Super chat says, XP Palladium's best point. Awesome way to distribute XP, but also terrible. You have so few levels, maximum 15, and upper levels are hard to get to. Getting to level 12 was 5 years. I think that XP leveling in Palladium's too fast. Now, I don't know about the high end because I never played 12 to 15, so I can't speak to that. But I think that XP, my game that is a little bit of an homage to Palladium, only has 10 levels, and I'm tripling to start the XP to get to each level. So, but I don't think that Palladium's XP system is the best, but I think it's a leaps and bounds better than D&D. But that's personal preference because I don't like XP just for combat because it promotes murder hoping. So anyway, a lot of things to unpack there, and I'll start with Victor. Victor, what are your thoughts on everything that's just been said?
Well, I had a thought earlier that I want to touch on real quick, like
go ahead.
leveling if you're in the wilderness and the dungeons. I can see not leveling while you're in a dungeon. I have no problem with leveling in the wilderness, unless, people are stumbling through the desert, like dying of thirst. But if you read like all sorts of fantasy books, there's like all these scenes where, they're traveling with their group to, somewhere. They set up camp, they spar with each other, they test their magic out and like all that stuff. So you could still say that's like some form of training. So I'm fine with like leveling up in the wilderness. That's just what I wanted to say earlier.
Okay.
As for other thing, I don't mind slow leveling as long as I'm getting gear. So as long as I'm getting like a better sword or the chance to maybe get a better sword or a better gun or better armor or whatever, I want like some sort of progression, whether that's from leveling or gear. If like leveling is slow and I'm also not getting a better sword, I'm like still running around with the same rusty piece of shit that I had at level 1 for like 12 years, then yeah, I'm gonna get annoyed because my character, there's just no sense of progression. So
okay, but Victor, say you're going through a campaign and you're not exactly able to take a break, retire to your home city, and train up with your mentor. So you're saying you're okay with leveling up as long as you get stuff. Does that include things like story awards? Like you helped out this noble by cleaning out this old manor of like a den of 50 hobgoblins, and you took the shaman and the war chief's head and you put them on poles and put them in front of the property, and then after about a month you start seeing trade caravans come back, and so the noble who had that property originally comes to you and is like, "Oh, Victor, you have done us a great service, and for this I will give you 20 head of cattle for your estate. Is this good? Would you like be okay with that sort of thing?"
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Like mechanical bonuses, like I got a +1 sword, or I have a brand new armor of the centaur, or I have a blah 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 blah, which gives me a mechanical benefit, which makes me a bigger, more unkillable, stoppable person. Instead, I get like cattle, or I get to meet the noble's daughter, who has a nice set of bazoombas, and I mean, you could be a 12-year-old boy and be happy.
I think in a good game you have a good mix of both. Like you need to be able to feed all the different aspects of the game and not just like raise up one and neglect the other. So I do think getting better gear is very important. I do think leveling at a reasonable steady pace is important, but I also think stuff like you're saying is important, that you do a favor for an NPC and that gives you some sort of like meta benefit or whatever. I think all that stuff has to come together in like a good mix for it to be a fun game, at least for me. So
it's a very good point that Bruce made there, because like that's also part of a character development, like the connection you make and the reputation you build. That's also part of your character development and can also have a role in how you face different situations in the future. It's also
I agree with that completely. But I will take a different track than Victor on this one, and to me, it all depends on the style of campaign, yada yada. But I don't need experience points, and I don't even need new stuff. I just need the adventures to be comparable to what I'm supposed to be doing. So if I was to play a game, let's say Bruce would say, I'm going to run a D&D game, and I'm in. And he's like, but I'm never giving out XP. Okay. And the equipment that you have right now is probably going to be the equipment you have a year from now. As long as the adventures were still entertaining and there was some sort of reward, and it could be that stronghold. Maybe the reason we're not leveling up is because we are building that stronghold, or we are getting that 50 head of cattle that we can now feed ourselves. So, I don't need to go to town necessarily so much anymore, whatever. As long as there's some sort of growth of any sort, even if it's just between the characters in role playing. I know that'll hurt some people, but that's fine. It doesn't have to be a game mechanic thing. I'm okay. It's only when the adventures start going like this and the characters are still down here, and it almost looks like I got you from the GM, that I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. But
no.
But I do get what you're saying. There's got to be some sort of growth somewhere, but I can do it through the role playing aspect if allowed. Weird Guy for $2. Thank you very much. For fun, the best RPGs that has no levels. Skill-based games could be if that's your thing. In fact, I think that sometimes skill-based games have more verisimilitude. The problem with skill-based games is the min-maxing, number-crunching, metagaming side of it. So it depends on how much you watch that. Because I like organic characters that fit the world and the situations around them, not characters that are just like, well, but this gives me a better advantage than that. Why would I ever do that? Because the world kind of pushes you in that direction. I don't care. That's stupid for the numbers. Like, well, then.
I like skill-based game that where the skill improve with usage. So it's
Chaosium.
So
that's why you like Pendragon, right?
Exactly. It's not a choice that you have to make. I use the skill because I needed the skill. Yep. Then the skill might improve. You just like, it makes sense. It's very simulated, but also then there's no min-maxing possible there, because you use the skill.
It is my favorite level up system, and it's not even level because it's skill based, but it's my favorite skill based level up system, whatever you want, skill improvement system of any game I've ever played.
Nope. And I wanted to make a comment also about you saying about your adventure matching up. I can like also like a game that will be grindy or that kind of harsh, maybe the mudcore people say, where your character, is going to get better, is going to develop and stuff like that, but it also can accumulate injuries and problems and enemies and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That also can make like you get better with your sword, but you lost your shield arm or stuff like that. And if you still have a goal, like there's some game where the character is going to retire because why would I go adventure like that? But if you're trying to do something epic when you have a goal to accomplish and you still push through despite the adversity and stuff like that, that can be fun campaign as well.
Look, we give the character or the player a lot of shit for some things that he did in certain games, but I can do nothing but give him props for this one. Most of you heard this before, but I'll say it again. We had a player who played a Scrang, which is basically a lizard man in Earth Dawn. Lost his arm to a cave crab. He was a sword master. And he played that sword master up until Heathen Dog got him killed. That's not exactly what happened, but I'm going with that story. He played that sword master fantastically because he understood that the sword master is a showman. What better way to show off than to say, I've got one arm and I'm beating your ass, But he did such a good job with it. And I gave him penalties for that. Like when you have to do any sort of balance check or anything that would require a second arm, you're at -2 steps. And he played it wonderfully. But so many players that I see now is like, and I blame game masters for this to some degree. They're like, well, this character's screwed. Now, I have no left eye, so I'm -4 to perception on that side, and I'm -1 to hit. Oh my God, numbers. Well, guess what? You know what a good game master can do? A good game master can work around that and say, you know what? Instead of putting in the age category 5 vampire, I'm just going to put in the age category 4 vampire in. I'm still going to let this character be viable. This character is still viable because I'm not trying to push every little ounce out of the creatures to kill the party so that they have to put every little ounce into the characters to kill the creatures. Because that's min-maxing on both sides. Make it viable, and you can absolutely have my character's a limp, half movement speed. I can still fight, but I'm half movement speed, and if I'm knocked to the ground, it takes me 2 rounds to get up instead of 1 or something like that. That could be devastating in a fight, but also so very interesting. But who plays characters like that nowadays?
I always enjoy playing characters like that because I'm very influenced by popular media and stuff like that, by old movies. And there's plenty of old, there's like a kung fu movie where like a guy loses his arm and he has to like train himself how to like do one-armed sword fighting. I used to play a blind character because I'm a huge fan of Zatoichi. So yeah, I do all sorts of stuff like that, and I'll take the penalties for it. Like I'm not expecting to be like
And that's the thing, playing blind character, like, well, I don't mind if somebody want to do it, but like, I prefer when it's something that happens in play.
Yes.
Then when you come to the table with a character like that. So like, let's those things, well, blind is different because you get blind from birth and stuff like that. But like, if you want to play a one-arm character, all right, try to lose an arm during playing in the way that makes sense.
I'll give one exception to that because I kind of consider this play. If it's a life path system and you roll it up in your life path, because that'll surprise me. Like, oh crap, my character. I mean, the old Twilight 2000, the one from the 80s, man. That you could roll up like, okay, I'm gonna do one more stint because I want some more skills. You roll. Oh, shiza, I lost half my face. Damn it!
I love those push your luck kind of mechanics.
I see it also comes down to the GM though, because so if a character in your game loses an arm, do you just say like, well, now you're fucked forever and good luck surviving? Or do you maybe give him a chance to, like I said, like in that movie, do like the training and all the stuff to maybe learn how to overcome that disability to a certain degree, to learn like this whole new fighting style or something, that kind of helps him. I think that's 100%. More fun than yeah.
Well, with that in mind, I mean, the Earth Dawn thing, so why it works so well in Earth Dawn, there'll be a lot of drinking going on here, and I'll get the super chat in a moment here, is that it's magical based. The game is a high magic world. So when you are part of that discipline and you're acting in accordance with that discipline, you get the magic of it. So melee weapon as a skill is separate from melee weapon as a talent, which is like the magical abilities. So you can still empower that. So no, I did not penalize him for anything other than he couldn't wear a shield in this arm, which he's like, fine, you know what? I'm just going to show people I'm better, which added to his role playing because that's what sword masters do. It's like, I beat you with one arm. What the fuck is wrong with you? So let me read the super chat while everybody drinks. Where'd it go? There it is. So Weird Guy for $10 more. Thank you, Weird Guy. I really do appreciate the super chats that are popping in, folks. Can't thank you enough for those. I'll answer my own question. Best RPG without levels is Pocket Fantasy. I haven't played that. You get rerolls for rewards. Rerolls can also be used to activate class abilities. Save them for dragon fights. Okay. You've probably heard this from the what do you call it? The D20 stuff or 2D20 stuff we're working on. I don't like things that are saved up, but I think in a system like this, where it's saved up as like an XP level type thing, I think I can get with that. Bruce hasn't talked for a while, so I'll let Bruce jump in here.
No, I was just typing over to Mr. Brian James. He just now noticed my elder shitlord.
Yeah, I saw that too. I thought it was funny. It was funny, especially when you came in. We were about talking about the pundit. So one you up here.
I had to replenish my drink. I'm sorry. What was the question you want me to talk about there to Max? Because the thing about like if you want to talk about craft or Weird Guy's comment, best skill-based system ever is going to be, in my opinion, as much as I do love Glorantha, RuneQuest, and Chaosium, it's going to be Star Wars D6. Star Wars D6 is the best skill-based system I've ever played. And the way that you can institute how they get their experience point rewards and when they can spend them is completely up to the agency of the game master. The game master is the one who completely controls the pacing of the improvements of the characters. I think that's the part about that should be ported to other games, because in Star Wars, typically, no matter what's going on, you're always at a pace that's not pleasant. You're not comfortable. You're always rushing from one place to another place to another place to another place. And it's not until whatever it is you needed to do has been accomplished, then you get your moment of respite. And that's when the GM gives you those skill points so you can say, I'm going to up my dodge. I'm going to improve my ability with sneak or with technical. But up till now, you've been running around trying to save Gungans, and heaven forbid that somebody actually shoot Jar Jar.
I only have one problem with that D6 system, one. And it's why I didn't end up going with it ultimately for my game. Okay. And that is at the low skill levels, you have no chance of success. And at the high skill levels, you have almost no chance of failure. And I would much rather have the Chaosium system or something more percentile based, or a free league where it's like it's success driven than that. But it's kind of it's a nitpicky complaint, but that is my only complaint that I have, because I love the Star Wars D6 system as well. But if you need to roll a 15 and you only have 2 dice, you're fucked. And if you need to roll a 15 and if you got 8 dice, why are you even rolling?
In the Star Wars system, you have like a... Sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
I was just going to say, whenever we were playing that game, we never worried about rolling a 15 with only 2 dice with a brand new character. But when we had like 6 or 7 die to roll, the dice, seemed to graduate with us. So like if you're making a long range shot with your blaster pistol, that's like 30 or 40 yards, it's long range, and that's a 20. Mm-hmm. Then you get to add the person you're shooting at, they get a dodge roll. A reactionary dodge roll. They don't even have to declare it. They just dodge. And so you get to roll that dodge, add that to 20. Then, okay, now you roll your 7 die 6.
No, I get it. And that dodge, if taken after an action, also costs them dice.
Another die.
So, no, I get that aspect. Like I said, my point was that at some point the characters did, because if you ever fought Darth Vader, that's just a perfect example. Vader can do so much crapping around. He can wipe out your party in one round.
That makes sense, though. That is Vader. He's the scariest motherfucker in the Star Wars universe.
Right. But your characters can go past that.
Kill your character.
Go ahead, Max.
I'm sorry.
But to be fair, I just want to say, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying that was like the one weakness of it. And if that's the only complaint, it was a great system. I liked it.
Didn't have the 6 system, I haven't looked at the system in more than 20 years, but they didn't have like a wild dice that would explode?
Oh, yeah, that came later. I
think that's 2nd edition.
Oh, maybe.
Wasn't it first revised? I don't know. I have.
Whatever the other one left. Whatever it's called.
I had the edition that came up in French, so I don't know which edition it would correspond to.
Also, I get you, Max, but I don't really mind systems like that in the right setting. Like, this is Star Wars. Like, having somebody who's like an amazing gunslinger. He's like the best gunslinger in the system. He rarely fails his gunslinging role. Sure. That kind of fits the setting for me. It is very pulpy. It's very high concept. If we're doing like, you're just like regular Joe on like, on regular Joe Street, and you're doing all that shit. Okay, that's one thing. But like in the right setting, I don't mind if like a character has like a skill at a point.
About it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I have no problems with the D6 system.
No, we need to fight. Damn it.
No, can't do that in this. We'll have other things to fight about in a moment.
Magical dwarves, everyone.
Everybody in chat, it doesn't matter which chat I'm reading here. They're all complaining about don't save the Gunkins.
It's the fighter at level 1 or no better than regular Joe. That's what we need to fight about.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm done with that argument. Please don't bring it up.
That was an actual argument?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, that went on for weeks.
Not between me and Victor. Like I agreed with Victor on that, but between Victor and some people on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, and on YouTube and everywhere really.
A level 1 fighter is just out of basic training. It's a little bit better than a schmuck, but not much.
Yep.
In fact, again, D&D had some good examples of this stuff. A 5th level character was a sergeant. Or I think it was actually above a sergeant. Like, that is a veteran. That's what I meant to say.
And veteran's level 1.
In first edition, a sergeant is a first level fighter.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because most of them are 0th level, not adventure trained.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I
I think second edition tweaked it a little bit.
It entirely depends on the system, which is what
Yeah.
I was saying the whole time. But like I said,
true.
I've had a lot of drama with this topic, so I'm kind of over it. So
Okay.
You guys discuss it. I'm done.
Well, I like it for one concept though, and that's this: if you're a 10th level character, stop acting like, oh, I got to keep leveling up, dude. You're a 10th level character. You're damn near epic. Again, I want to say it's the Dungeoneers guy, or I forget the name of it, but a 15th level character, there should be like one per continent, or maybe that was when we were talking about druids. Like it is a rare thing. 15th level character, most don't survive that long, and most age out. Like, dude, I'm too old to adventure. I'm done.
Somebody gave me like a list, and I think it was from DCC, and it shows like the rarity of like each level. And I think like a 10th level character was like 1 in 10,000 or something.
Well, DCC has a
crazy
growing,
has
a growing I kill you table too. So
but that's the thing. Like, I like those kind of game where like the level 1 fighter is like basically nobody, just a guy with a chirp and a stick and went to fight. I like those kind of game, but it's not true that this is what old school was about. It's not quite true. And it's the same kind of thing when the 3D6 down the line. Yes, that's old school, but it's not all what old school was, because I think
we didn't do that much.
The default method in AD&D first edition is like 46 drop the lowest.
Yeah. I never liked that personally. I like 3d6 place where you want. I now use 5d6, remove the highest and lowest, because I like bell curves. So
I made a video. I talked about that in one of my videos.
I think I saw that one. Yeah, it's one of your earliest ones.
It's the same. It's basically the same bell curve than just 3d6.
Yeah, it has less 3s and less 18s. That's for dang sure. Thank you.
Barely.
Well, it's very noticeable when I did 150 rolls. It was very noticeable. In fact, I never a single time rolled a 4 or 17, which I thought was really odd. I rolled 3 and an 18, but never a 4 and a 17.
Since we talked about
anyway, yeah.
Go ahead.
Since we talked about it earlier, Shadow Dark, it makes you do 3d6 in order, which I thought was kind of surprising. That was like very old school for something that introduces a lot of 5e isms.
Yeah, I talk about Shadow Dark. Like I don't think like anything is very innovative in it, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad game either. I don't think it's like I have nothing against it, and I just don't think like and like I said, Kelsey Dion is not somebody that came from nowhere either. So she make a lot of money and stuff like that. Like I think like she's got a right for this money. She got to find a good artist. She put a system that seemed pretty okay, like functional and stuff like that. And she put out stuff before, so yeah, that's.
She has an established name. She has like lots of contacts. Like her girlfriend or wife or whatever is like it's like some high level marketing person. So obviously they know what they're doing. It came out just at the right time because of the OGL business. Like it had everything going for it. So like more power to her. Like I'm not jealous. I'm kind of jealous. Like I wish I was making that kind of money, but like I'm not gonna like be salty about it.
Once you're gonna have like a few products out already, it might be you. Like I said, we should put stuff out before.
And then I'll never be on the stream again.
I never knew that with those guys.
They'll be looking down upon us, trying to get me canceled, like I'm apparently trying to do to somebody else. Did chat ever answer the question, what is domain play? Because if so, we can move on. Domain play is generally it's just owning a kingdom and dealing with dealing with forts and castles and so forth, and having to deal with people, growing territory. I mean, it's got a bunch of different aspects to it. Adventure Conquer King system, I think, is the one that runs it best today.
It become much more political intrigue and stuff like that. Yep.
You're a liege lord trying to protect people and having income and collecting taxes. It sounds boring, but it's not for some people. Now, to be fair, it's not my style unless the entirety of the game is set up that way. Like I don't like actually. So I'm one of those people that I'll tell you right now, when I'm level 20, I don't want to run a kingdom. I want to still be adventuring, but maybe in the plains and so forth. Same. Other people want to say, hey, when I hit this level and I can start building my castles and so forth, I want to build my castles and I want to start doing the domain play. It's all perfectly fine to me.
Yeah. Now, the good thing about
go ahead, Bruce.
That Kingmaker adventure path, the first one that Pathfinder Paizo revitalized domain playing Birthright. The very end of it, around level 15, you get notes, and spoiler alert, fuckers. Okay, now that I said that, at the end of this campaign, around 15th level, these little anchors start popping up in your in your kingdom. And if enough of these anchors stay in place, then your entire kingdom gets pulled off to the first world of the Fae. All of it. Everything that you fought for, everything is gone, including your castle, and you are now in the realm of this super, almost demiurge level Nixie or Fae blighted creature. It's a nymph who's gone bad. And she's got druid levels and sorceress levels, and she can cast 2 spells around levels, and it will destroy you. And if you can get to the anchors before she pulls you into her realm, you have a chance, but you have to fight some very big boss battles. And I'm saying big boss battles, like there's the first one is like 2 16th level giants. Have fun. And then the second one is you have to deal with a group of rabid, blighted Fae, and they're running all over one of your major market areas in one of your towns. And then you just have 10 encounters like that. If you can teleport each one as each one pops up, that's great. But you don't really have a way to detect where there's things popping up in your realm unless you're just that cool. If you're connected to your land that way, that's awesome. But other than that, you're going to get pulled off into this Fae realm, and you get to fight. So you guys talking about, well, if I'm 20th level, I want to be fighting off in other planes. Oh, you might want to play Kingmaker. And I know that sounds weird.
That's fine.
But you have a kingdom, though, so how do they explain that you're still just running around as an adventurer doing all this shit by yourself? Shouldn't you have an army? Shouldn't you have, like, spies and agents and assassins and all sorts of scary people under you that can handle this stuff?
They're purchasable, Victor.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm saying, like, yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, can you, like, if those giants are rampaging around, can you just say, like, hey, my 5,000 knights that I managed to train up, go kill them?
You also have to remember, Victor, that at the time it was expected for the king to lead this man.
True.
Yeah,
but you would still have an army with you. Yeah.
So I want to answer this first, Fragito. After a few years, each player should have 2 or 3 living characters in a setting of different level ranges. That depends on your game. I don't like doing that. I'm very focused on whatever character I'm playing at that time, and I don't want to think about other ones. I know there are people who do 1-to-1 time. That's not for me. I know that there are people who just, whether it's for training or for purposes like, I'm bored of this one, I'm going to do something else. When I stop playing a character, I don't usually want to go back to it. While I'm playing a character, there might be times I'm a little bored of it, but ultimately something's going to happen that's going to spur me on again. That's just not my style. And it could be because I'm a little bit heavier in the role playing than some of the grognards are. I'm not a LARPer, but when I'm at the table, I like to be in the headspace of my character, stay in the headspace of that character. And I like to only think about one character so that I'm not, making myself get multiple personality disorder.
But you would play only one character per session, per time at the table. And I think that can work especially well with X-Crawl. If you do like X-Crawl type of game where you every time you go back to your base and stuff like that, then you can go to the next adventure.
I wouldn't be happy with that.
You wouldn't be happy with that? No.
I'm not saying it's a bad style of play. I'm saying for me, I wouldn't be happy with that.
No, it's not the type of play that I usually do, but I can see it work well in those situations, and especially if you want to do like an X-Crawl where there's got to be a player jumping in and out. That can be a solution also, and especially if you want to have like a long downtime for healing, like your character is going to be out for a month.
I just fast forward time in that case. For the other part of that, no, if you miss 3 sessions in a year, I kick you out of my game. Yeah. So I mean, I'm a dick, and you can ask people who were there when I was running games. I absolutely did that. There are a couple people who are still angry with me to this day because I wouldn't let them join because they could only show up every other week. And it wasn't their fault. It was their work schedule. I'm like, no. Like, I don't play that. Now, there are extenuating circumstances. Everybody gets really pedantic, like 3 times. Oh, my God. Like, hey, if you come up to me and say, hey, the month of May, I'm going to be on leave, I'm going to be gone. As long as you tell me, longer than the week prior, I worked that out. But ultimately, no, I don't do that. I don't run my games. My games are very static when it comes to the people and the characters. Now, if your character dies, now somebody said, do you have characters on hold? Let me see what this says here. Read the whole thing. Where'd it go? I lost it. There's something about having characters on hold. I don't mind, like, if Mr. Max is in my game and he wants to make 3 characters but play 1, that's fine. I might even encourage him, like, hey, starting at level 3, every time your character levels up, just level up one of the other ones. You know, it's just so that you can pull a character. Like, my character died, I'm in the game now, I'm for that. But on hold for any other reason, no, we'll fast forward time. And if you decide that, you know what, I want my character to go on a 1-year pilgrimage, you're pretty much writing your character out of the game.
How do you deal with character death? And when you, I'm launching a topic there. How do you deal with character death when people bring a new character? Do you start them at the same level that the party is, or do you start them below, behind? How do you deal with that?
Depends on the game, and I want to answer that question, but I want to make sure that Victor and Bruce get to comment on what I just said a moment ago. But it is a good question.
Well, Crafty said something to me earlier about domain play. Like, yeah, I know how domain play works, but I was mostly asking how specifically Kingmaker works, because it's a adventure module and it's Pathfinder. So like, I was asking what the expectation was, but no, you already kind of answered, so that's fine.
Well, as the months and time goes by, like, you and your band of merry men go around the hexes, and it's a very cool way to learn how to hex crawl.
Yeah, I did the beginning of it, and then we got our kingdom, and then the GM stopped showing up. So
you spend 3 days in the hex, and you do random encounter rolls, and you do all sorts of rolls for that hex, which that's not even up to you. That's up to your GM.
Yeah.
If the GM has already decided there's nothing here, he's going to make some rolls, and he's going to be like, "Hey, dude, there's nothing here." But then you'll find other places where and once you've civilized it, that gets added to an area that gets taxed every month. Okay, and that it gets audited every month, and then at the end of the month, you've got up to 10 new hexes in your campaign at the end of the month, and so you make your die rolls, and everybody has a different role in the kingdom, and if they succeed, it makes it easier to run the kingdom, at least for that month. And you get an income, you have things that happen, and then you have the resolution where you get your final tally of bonuses and such, and how much hits the coffers. If you do really well, you'll profit, and when you profit, you can actually make it a lot easier to build and expand and put roads and set up cities and buy things like walls or watchtowers, or you're going to build a shop here in this town. Everything has a build point cost. Build points are really expensive. That's 4,000 gold per build point. So when Crafty said earlier, you burn through gold, yes, this is what we were talking about. And as the months tally on, you'll do things. You'll have months where nothing really happens. You're just exploring, building, and then you're going to hit like the vein of adventure. And for like 2 weeks, you're chasing down this bandits, or you're chasing down, why is there a swath of destruction through my kingdom? And you find there's like this gargantuan owlbear. So you put these things to rest, and you get rewards for it. And then you'll have people come and visit, and they'll be from other kingdoms. They say, we want to ally with you, we want to start trade with you. And so that brings in more money. That money gets immediately recycled back into your kingdom to build and make your kingdom more economically or physically secure. It's great.
So hold on to that question, Mr. Max. I do want to answer that. Somebody is talking about henchmen in chat. And again, everybody's style of play is a little different. I don't do henchmen in my games. And here's why. Now, they're amorphous NPCs. You're taking away a big part of D&D. Well, if that's how you feel, that's fine. I run my games more looking like Lord of the Rings or Dragonlance Adventures. I'm not talking about Aragorn when he's leading armies. I'm talking about the Fellowship of the Ring type stuff. The players do it all. It's also why I like larger groups. I don't like groups of 3 or 4 players. I like groups of 6 or 7 players, because it gives them the ability to fill all different types of roles. So I don't really generally have a bunch of henchmen unless it's a matter of like, hey, you know what? You've got some people guarding the horses. I'm not going to eat your horses because I'm not that kind of DM that does crap like that. But other than that, I don't deal with that. And I know there are a lot of older D&D type players who don't like that, but that's just how my games work.
I'm the same way. I want to be Indiana Jones doing the adventure by my own skill and wits. I don't want to be like Ian Livingston, who's just like traipsing through the jungle with like 20 like cargo barrels behind him doing all the hard work. If that makes sense.
Indiana Jones side this what is his name? Little Chinese guy, like the
Short round.
Oh, yeah, short round.
Yeah, he just won an Oscar.
That was his henchman.
Yeah.
And see, Brian, that makes sense. If you play with 3 players, I would just wouldn't even be part of that game personally. I certainly not as a game master. But if that's your table, that makes much more sense. Also makes sense that if players have 2 characters, I just wouldn't enjoy it. That's the thing. It's not that it's a bad game style. I wouldn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy LARP as much as I role play at the table. I don't enjoy LARP, but there are people who do. So don't take this as like your game sucks.
You remember the Ars Magica game with the tropes kind of play where like
hold on,
everybody had like a.
just 1 second. It looks like I got kicked off a Rumble.
Oh really? Ban? No.
Somebody typed in did Rumble crash. I just got a warning up here saying that looks like the RNTP is down. Yeah, it looks like, by the way, if you're on Rumble, it looks like it did crash, and I don't know what I can do about that or if it comes back. Sorry. Let me take a look. Give me 1 second here.
You always talk to Victor and Bruce while you do that.
Go ahead.
Have you looked at guys at the Ars Magica kind of play? Because it's making me think of that with the Henchmen, where you had this what they call troops play. And,
I like that type of play, but a lot of my friends don't, and a lot of my players that I currently have don't want to do troop style play.
Mm-hmm.
They really get upset whenever I try to suggest that. And
Are you familiar, Victor?
No, so I
No?
need the context here.
Ars Magica was a game where you were every player had a magician, like a wizard, kind of like, and wizard was pretty overpowered in that game. But you also all had 1 or 2 other character, which would be like henchmen of the wizard. And when you would go on adventure, one of the players at the table would play his wizard, and the other player would play the henchman supporting this wizard. And then from adventure, you would switch who would play the wizard.
Huh? That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So basically, you were the henchman, and it allowed you to have like this one guy in the adventure that was the focus point and was the star of the adventure. But so I thought that was a cool way to do a henchman. But the thing with Ars Magic, I don't like playing magic user. I think it's unmanly.
Wow.
Well, that way of play could work for other stuff though, like the Indiana Jones example. You could literally do like a pulp game like that, where like somebody's like the brave adventurer, and like maybe 1 or 2 people are the short rounds, and then you switch every so often.
Well, that'd be a session 0 thing, as long as the players are okay with it. It's like some of the stuff I've been saying in chat. I'm sorry I missed some of the chat. I know someone's directed at me, but I'm trying to figure out this Rumble thing.
And that's the thing with the Ars Magica. Like, I much rather not be the spotlight than play a wizard. So I was always like, no, it's all right. I'll do the henchman again. But that's just me. I'm this weird kind of guy.
I'm that way too. I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't like being the face of the party or whatever. I just like being the guy who's there in the background, who's good at one thing, who's maybe good at snapping necks or something. And then if my time for snapping necks comes up, you can call me. But otherwise, like, I'm just fine, just watching.
Okay.
DM Thorn in chat say, I wish I had like the privilege to put a condition on my game. And yeah, that's of course, if you have like a lack of player, depending on the region you are, that's going to be a little harder. Sometimes you just have to deal with the player you have, and sometimes that's also why we play system we don't prefer. Like a lot of people play 5e because that's the kind of game they can get. But yeah, and especially back in the days, it was a bit easier because they didn't have the online, so you were the GM. You had you had the power more. Now people can shop around for the game they want. Yeah.
The thing is they shop around. This is a personal opinion. I did not hear this anywhere else. If other people are saying this, great. I'm glad that great minds think alike, or maybe I'm totally wrong. But it's that shopping around for games that I also think helps perpetuate. They only play 6 sessions.
It's also they always play the same system.
Yeah.
Because I want to try something else, and I'm not interested. I'm going to find somebody else. Like when you had a GM that would come with different idea, different system, and stuff like that, and you had no other choice. You would try it because that's the game you can get.
Mm-hmm. Or we like to try just to see if there are different things. We would get bored of D&D. We'd get bored of other games. Like not that they were bad games, but we'd want to branch out. But it wasn't after 6 sessions. It was after months at least, of play. Sorry, I got a little off track here because I was trying to fix the Rumble thing. I don't know if it is fixed. It doesn't look like it is here. I had a hard time just getting to the Rumble website for a while, but over here it's saying it's still streaming, so I can't tell. So I apologize to the Rumble folks if it's not working. There's nothing I can do about that. It looks like something happened over there on Rumble.
I was just giving a basic example, Manowar. Like, I'm not an edgelord. I don't wear black trench coats and put on white face paint.
Yeah, well, sometimes. Okay, I'll watch on YouTube and comment here. Okay, it seems that and it happens. We all do it. I do it as well. I try not to as much, but it seems like we all take things to the nth degree. When I say like things like I at 3, you miss 3 sessions, you're out. That is true, but it's not an absolutist thing. If I say I don't ever play with henchmen, that doesn't mean ever in my entire life, never have I ever allowed a henchman, but, and I'm not saying anybody in chat saying that, but there's just things that I've learned in gaming and how I like gaming that I just don't do. And I don't want necessarily be part of those games. I've played in a lot more different styles of games than what I would run in. Hell, the game that RPG is dumb is running. I love it. The game is absolutely fantastic. He does things that I wouldn't do in my games. It's just, what's that?
I gotta ask, should I ask Connell why he's not in that game anymore? Or,
he got turned in. Yeah, see, there's a missing episode. We did it and we didn't record it. There's a missing episode. Connell got turned into a bug. And
wait. There was a Faustian episode and you guys gave us no context.
Yeah, well, blame RPG is dumb with that. That one I am blaming him for, but no, he is
Kafkaesque.
We decided we wanted to we call it finish it up because we thought it was just gonna be a one shot, but he really wanted to do this thing. So we're like, okay, and we didn't record it, but the quick version of it is this. That thing that ate him was slowly taking him over, and Connell turned into a bug. Heathen Dog wanted to kill him and is ready to kill him on the spot. I let him go free. So Connell's character, I don't know what happened to him after that, but my scrupulous alignment allowed Connell's character to go free. And I can tell you this, Connell was supposed to take us out. He was supposed to go after us, but I don't know why he didn't do it. But maybe it's because I let him go. I don't know, whatever. But he didn't do it, and I ended up letting him go as a dirty DB. And Heathen Dog's character is not happy about that.
Yeah, you're letting DB go free.
Well,
That's a shame.
Hey, he was a human a moment ago. He got transformed. I'm a scrupulous character. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt unless something happened. Trust me. Me as John wanted to shoot him in the face hole. But,
Hey, 3 orcs. The thing I've noticed around here where I'm at, I just discovered that I've got 2 friends, one in Lotus, one on the other side of town by Randolph Brooks. These guys run Hero System. Do you remember the Hero System? Remember those big, thick books that are bigger than a Robert Mitchum book? The Hero System. These guys are running 6 or more players at their tables. They have waiting lists to play this game, and the majority opinion is from the DMs is like everybody that wants to play with us says the same thing. They will be more than happy to play this as long as it's not 5e, as long as it's not 5th edition D&D. We're playing Hero System.
Hero System isn't bad. It's not my favorite system out there. I love it for character creation. You can literally make what you want as long as you have enough points.
If you have enough points.
Is that a superhero game?
Well, Champions is the superhero aspect of it, but you can do fantasy, future, whatever, all types. They got vehicle books and everything's based on these points. And whoever did the math on that is a better genius than I am. That's for damn sure. But I love it. It gets a little too nuanced when people start doing, I got a multiple power pool, then I'm out. I like just keep the basic points, and it just makes life a lot easier. But the people who know it, know how to do those variable power pools and whatever, you can come up with just anything. If you can dream it, you can make it in the Hero System. Bessem is the same way. It changes some things, but Bessem, the Big Eye Small Mouth, is the same way. You can make whatever you want in it. So, I get a little weirded out by the phase system that the Hero System has, because with high enough speed, you could have 1 action per round. You could have 12 actions per round. Very extreme example there. I know that somebody's big. You're never going to get 12 unless I get it, but it can happen. So. But anyway, I don't know what's going on in chat, so I'm just gonna skip it. Go back to your question now, Mr. Max, because I think you had a really good question.
Oh, I was asking about the. He was on topic earlier, but like about the character death. When all you did with introducing a new character, do you put them at the same level as the party is currently? Do you go back to?
There's always a penalty for dying, and I will never have you come in at the same level. So in like my AD&D second edition games, you're one level lower than the lowest level character in the party, or you're equal to the lowest level character in the party, depending on what your character's level was. But I will never have it be a benefit for you to die.
Mm-hmm.
In other games, it just depended on what the system was. Earth Dawn, we did have a couple characters die. I gave them enough legend points to get them to. They'll have to quote me on this one. Somebody like Bob or Heathen Dog, who actually had characters die. I think I gave Heathen Dog just a touch more because his character died heroically. So instead of punishing him completely, I only punished him a little bit. But I definitely still didn't give him equal to what his character was.
I like that idea of like if your character died heroically, being a little bit of a reward, I guess. That's good.
His character absolutely did die. His cavalryman died saving the rest of the party in a very heroic manner, and it was cool. So yeah.
Because I like even in game with DCC, like this, it depends on the game all the time. It's always contextual, but in a game like DCC, the game doesn't really support like starting a character at higher level. Basically, like the game is so focused on like you start as a nobody.
Yeah,
that's the game what the game is pushing. And I like that as well. Like I like it. And
I don't like the idea of like a 6th level party and you're being first level to come in there because it's too easy to kill you.
But that's part of the challenge for the player.
I mean, I'm not usually a dick game master where I just target that character, but at the same time, if I'm an enemy and I'm a semi-intelligent enemy and I see people, in plate mail armor and shiny staffs and glowy bubbles around them, and this one dude standing out there, you're splat. Okay, now what's going on next round?
Also, you depend on you will assume that the party would kind of gear up the guy that is behind, so that would give him a leg up.
Yeah, I wish. I haven't seen that happen.
No, really.
Back in '97, there was a game store in Decatur, Illinois called Infinity Games, and we had a table there that majority of players would come in, and they would sit for about maybe 3 or 4 sessions. And they would have a character that was about 7th level because we did kind of fast 2nd edition leveling back then. We had some friends from Peoria come down, which is a 3.5 hour drive to Peoria to Decatur. And there was 3 of them. And they all rolled up 1st level characters with the other 6 players being 6th or higher level. And the entire game became this fun evolution to try to keep the newbies alive. And thankfully there was 3 clerics in the party, but keeping those 3 newbies alive turned out to be the most fun that party ever had. And they begged them to come back. Now, by the end of the night, those 3 characters are like 4th level. So they had a little bit more meat on their bones at the end of a 8-hour gaming day. I think it was 10 hours we were there. And then we went for waffles or something, but we had that, and that was a lot of fun. I've got to say, if you guys have the opportunity to have a veteran group of players, and not veteran as in 1st level, but in 6th level characters in your game, and get 3 new players that are 1st level characters, try to put them in the middle of the group and protect them as best as you can, and the DM will have a ball. You're going to have fun. You're going to be testing the limits of your RP and tactical abilities. I recommend it. I wish more people would be open to that idea.
It also depends on it worked best it depends on the power curve of the system you're in. If you have a system where like there's a huge difference between a level 1 and a level 4, it's not gonna work as well. If you're like something with the power curve is a little more smooth, then you can get along with you can get away with more difference between. And I'm not saying it's for every game. It's something I like to do. I like to do as a player. I like to do as a GM. But again, something from session 0 that you have to determine up front.
Yes.
Am I breaking up?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
You're good.
So I got to head off. Sadly, I had fun. Thanks for having me on, Max.
Right. You got to head off. You're gonna
Yeah.
go.
You're
You're gonna go make a video, 2-minute video about me, about spreading lies about you.
Don't flatter yourself. It'll be 1 minute.
1 minute is all you need.
But yeah, nice hanging out with Bruce and Mr. Max like usual. So I'll see you guys some other time.
Do you want to tell us what you got going on this week before you just leave? Jesus.
I'll just do the Weekend Geek tomorrow like usual. Sunday I'll do the Dutch oven. I skipped last Sunday because I wasn't feeling up for it, but I'll do one this time. And then Monday we'll do natural ones, hopefully with the Basic Expert. Okay. And Tuesday I have one shots with my friends Crossface. We might be doing a special episode. We'll see. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being here.
And right now, a 1 minute video about how Max Liao lie about you.
Yeah.
And there you go.
We're going to talk shit about Victor immediately.
How Max is wrong about magical dwarfs.
There you go. All right, man.
Yep.
You're in the description below, so people can subscribe to you there. And yeah, so thank you for being here, and you have a good night.
Yeah, same to you. And sorry, Maliki. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
All right, so. I'm trying to catch up on a little bit of chat here. Yeah, I mean, again, people play different ways, and that's fine. I like to rant about this, that, and the next thing, but ultimately, the things I truly rant about are things that destroy. There's a discussion in chat versus what Bruce may have just said about 4E being a good game or a bad game.
What? Would I say that?
Or maybe I'm sorry, it wasn't not Bruce. It was it was L and Malachi. Sorry, whatever. Who the fuck said it? Well, somebody said it was good. Somebody said it was bad. Here's the thing for me. I will never say that WotC is a good D&D game. Is it a good game? And that's your mileage may vary. It's not Dungeons & Dragons. I will stand by that until I die. I don't care. And if you think it is, you're wrong. And I flatly, it's just your opinion. No, it's fact. You're wrong. I have turned that into fact, and I've put out all the arguments out there. If you think it is a good D&D game, you're wrong. Is it on its own? Is it WotC Fantasy Role-Playing First, Second, Third Edition? Is it fine? That's on you. We're not here to discuss that today, but my point is most of the time, I'm like, as long as you're playing within the spirit of the game, and that kind of can be whatever you want it to be, I don't care. You like henchmen? Have henchmen. I don't. It's just something I don't want to deal with. If you want to do domain play from level 1, level 9, or level 20, or never, hey, do it the way you want to do it. That's what these games are about and what they're for. As long as it's still D&D, you're still hacking up orcs for XP, and you're still, you're still doing those things that belong. Hey, play the game the way you want. You want to do the Bro SR 1 for 1 time? More power to you. Do it if you're having fun doing that.
What's the Bro SR 1 for 1?
One day of real time is 1 day in game.
Yeah, so if your character is training for 2 weeks or healing for a month, that character is literally out of the game for 2 weeks or a month.
I wouldn't go further than you, Max, and I've said not only play the game you want, but also try different type of game.
Yes.
Like, not only different system, which I think is a good thing to say, but also like, you never did a game where you start with nothing, or you never did a game where you XP is very slow, or XP is very fast. Try it. See how you like it. See how it changed the game, or it changed the feel. I think it's good to, it's changed it's going to keep you from boredom as well. It's changed things.
I also say try playing games in different styles. See, sometimes people are like, well, Max, you've never done this, you've never done that. In some cases, people are right. But in a lot of cases, I actually have experience doing those things. So let's use Shauner as an example. And by the way, Shauner has most people on block now, and I appreciate that. Shauner likes to do one-shots. I don't. Like, the occasional one-shot is fine, but how do I know that? Because I've played a lot of one-shots. How do you think I've learned a lot of games? And I honestly don't feel you really can learn a game by doing one-shots. Now, he spends a lot of time with Traveler. That's fine. So he just does one-shots of Traveler over and over again. I don't like that style of play. But that doesn't mean that style of play is wrong. It's wrong for me, but it's not necessarily wrong. But try it out. Try having a different character each time. Try play it in that cinematic movie aspect, as he said. He'll be like, how many movies do you need to tell the last action here or whatever? Try it. And if it works for you, then there you go. Now you found another way to play that works out great for you. And Alien RPG has it baked into the system now. So you can absolutely do one-shots constantly across the board. And have it mechanically driven to a point where you have reasons for it. Do try these different things and come up with the way that you want to play. Ultimately, though, I say, and this is where I draw the line. I said this to Kevin and Sean when they were on talking about Palladium books. I say it to everybody at all times. The spirit of the law trumps the letter of the law. And I will definitely have more thoughts and opinions if you're breaking that spirit.
And the word of the GM trump the spirit of the law.
Well, the GM is the spirit of the law, usually through a session 0 or whatever you want to call it.
And that's the thing also, like when people say, ask you, like, do you like, I lost what I was about to say. Like, like the narrative game versus the gamist game, like kick down the dungeon and go kill monster. I like both. Both serve different purpose for me. Sometimes one is fun. Sometimes I feel for the other. Sometimes I'm going to go on a long campaign in a more narrative style, where it's more like story-driven, stuff like that. Then after that, when we wrap that up, we do a quick like kick down the dungeon door and go kill some more. And sometimes one devolves into the other. In low level, you do that, just like the grave robber. And then when
look at Beckme. Have you read through Beckme?
No, I got the rules encyclopedia.
So Beckme does one better. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Rules Encyclopedia, but it does one better for a starting player and game master. The first books, whether player book here, DM book here, just levels 1 through 3, and only include rules for dungeon delving. That's it. It isn't until you get the next book. That's what 4 to 14, I think it is.
Yep.
That includes wilderness rules and how to deal with things outside. So you're expanding your gameplay, and then BEC was a companion, yada yada. It adds more complexity to the play as you dive into the game deeper. GM Bloodworth was the one that point. Wow. That pointed this out to me, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. If you're trying to get somebody brand new into D&D, and that person's starting from scratch, you can't do better than Beckme. Of course, if there's a skilled GM or a DM in this case running the game, that's different. But I'm just saying, here you go, learn on your own. You can't start better than Beckme, and it gradually brings you up into that. So yeah, you're right. There's literally nothing wrong with doing kick down the door dungeon crawling, if that's how you want to play.
Yeah, and there's a value in going back to those old games as well, because like those people, they knew what they were doing in a way. Like, yes, the hobby was new and there was still a lot to be discovered, but they weren't dumb. Those guys weren't dumb, and they have been like wargaming and designing wargame for like they had some background. They weren't like new guy on the block doing the game design from scratch. So they had some idea, and they weren't stupid at all. So there's some value to looking at those older games, even though I'm not an OSR game, like you said yourself. Like, I'm not OSR. I like the OSR, but I'm not an OSR game. I like a lot of the new stuff as well. But
I like the OSR feel. This is why I love GM Bloodworth's definition. I don't know if he came up with it. I'm giving him credit for it because it's where I first heard it. Where there's old school Renaissance, old school role play, and old school revival, and they all three have a little bit different meanings. And I love that definition of it. I know some people are puritanical, like, no, it only means 3d6 down the line, Dungeons Dragon stats. Well, guess what? With OGL issues, are you going to keep that premise or not? But
if I was in that, I would be like old school role play, because like I like that's the feel thing. That's it's a mindset that you get. Exactly,
and this is why I love Forbidden Lands. And you know what? That's a great segue into a question that I've had started for a while. And by the way, Bruce, did you want to comment any of that, or can I move into this next one?
You want? No, go ahead. Go.
Okay, you've been quiet for a little bit, and I want to make sure you're getting your words in. So
go ahead.
Okay. So with that old school role play concept in mind, says Ed Legion Myth, what the fuck is so special about Shadow Dark? Everyone's putting out videos about it, but it seems generic OSR. I don't know. A few people, I think Victor knew a little bit, but some people in chat have posted some things. I don't know because I haven't been following either the strife or the game itself. But yes, I have seen a bunch of people like Jim Bloodworth have put out videos on Shadow Dark. If Bruce or Mr. Max, if you want to chime in on that, because I don't know the answer to it.
I looked into Shadow Dark. I made a video about it. I'm one of those guys that made a video about it.
Okay.
And what's so special about it? It's making $1 million on Kickstarter. That's what's special about it. Basically, that's what it is.
Nothing special about the game rules, or
the game rules. Like, there's one thing that is somewhat unique. That is the torch in game lasts an hour, and it's an hour of real time. So that's kind of the mechanic. That other than that, it's nothing really new. It's a repackage of some idea, which like it's kind of like somebody's homebrew in a way.
Okay.
Yep, that's
And
what it is.
yeah, that's fine too. Like if it's a package of idea, like a specific idea that you like, that could be the game for you. But it's all thing that can be homebrewed pretty easily.
Okay.
She do the roll to cast. She do the 3d6 down the line for the stats. She took away dark vision from everybody, which I think is a good thing. And it's pretty much, and that's a bit in the old school mindset, because it's made to be a dungeon crawl, I guess, like a dungeon delve.
Okay.
So, but the real thing that's special is that the project is making a lot of money, and that's why people are talking about it, in my opinion.
It's
Okay.
got a lot of bones from DCC, and then it has the advantage disadvantage BS from 5e or 4th wherever that's from.
Which is one of the actually one of the mechanics I like from 5e within that construct. I like the advantage disadvantage.
That's great for you. I don't like disadvantage and advantage. I think that's garbage. But I've never been a person. The one thing I liked from Pathfinder that a lot of people just ignore is I like the +2 -2, where if somebody does something good in their favor, give them a +2. +2 circumstance bonus. Here you go. If they're screwing up and if they have bad ideas, give them a -2 circumstance bonus. And you don't have to tell them that. But whenever they roll the die and they add in everything, you add in that or subtract it silently, and you let them know what happened. I like that a lot better than waiting for the second dice to quit rolling. I really do.
I like the advantage, but I like the way David Guile did it. I think he did it better, where you can get more than you know that Bruce. You can get more than one advantage dice or more than one disadvantage dice, and they kind of cancel out. You can get up to 2 advantage or disadvantage die, and if you get more thing that give you advantage, then they become +1. So it's kind of like a hybrid system, and I like it because then you can roll 3 dice and pick the highest one, or 3 dice and pick the lowest one, and then if you get more advantage, then it's +1 or -1.
I actually
think
really
that-
like the way Forbidden Space did advantage disadvantage for percentile dice, and I tried to steal it, but unfortunately it didn't fit in the game that I'm writing. But I really tried for the life of me to steal that one because it basically just takes a percentage. And how do you read those percentage dice? If you've got disadvantage, it's let's say you roll a 9 and a 3. Normally that's 93, right? Or you call high, but we'll say it's 93. Well, if you're rolling with disadvantage, it's a 93. If you're rolling with advantage, it's a 39. I like that.
That's the way that old Warhammer did
Yeah,
it. Right?
yeah, I think it was Warhammer, yeah.
Warhammer Fantasy, yeah.
I prefer dice like this for D100s. And I get really upset. I did a beta the other day with somebody at the local game store, and he, instead of having this die, he had 2 1s dice. And he's like, well, I thought I got advantage. No, that's not this game.
Well, you're supposed to call high. It's like if you have 2 different colors, usually they came in 2 different colors and you just call high. That's the way I did it. That's the way everybody I knew did it.
You know what?
I asked him, which one's your 10s die? And he's like, what? I said, which one's the 10s die? He's like,
Yeah,
what's
you
that
have
mean?
You have to call high. Absolutely. Yeah. If you didn't know that, then
It's something silly, like something that bothers me is like those with the percentile dice. I wish that the D10 would be from 1 to 10, not from 0 to 9, because then you can just add up the 2 dice. It'd be so much simpler to explain a new player. You say, oh, you roll percentile, you roll this dice and this dice, add them up together. You roll a 90 and a 10, that's 100. You roll a 0 and a 1, the double 0 and 1, that's 1.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, I've seen people actually do that, not in a long time, but I got just used to the traditional way, I guess.
Yeah, it's the traditional way, but it's kind of, when you think about it, it's goofy.
get
Oh,
it.
the 000? No, that's 100. It's like
I get it.
just create an exception.
The other question. Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
No, I was like, that makes sense. That what he just said makes sense. You have to
Just
think about
my
it for a
artistic
second, though.
side, I guess.
So a question came up. What is considered by the panel the best high fantasy similar RPG, and is played in fantasy one of them?
I don't have experience with Paladin Fantasy because like the Paladin game didn't really came into Quebec where I grew up, so we didn't have much exposure to them. And the best, did you say high fantasy or did you just say fantasy?
High fantasy.
High fantasy. Oh, that's a tough one for me.
It's easy for me.
Well, for you, we should get another beer already. Here.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You know where I'm going with that one.
Would DCC be? DCC is not even considered high fantasy. I don't think I played
No,
much
no.
high fantasy game.
I'll let somebody else speak to that. But that's more
Yeah.
sword and sorcery, Gonzo. But I wouldn't call it high fantasy, so to speak. But again, somebody can correct me on that. But then, well, it does have a lot of magic. So when I think of high fantasy, I think of a lot of demi-humans, a lot of magic, a lot of color, glitz, whatever. When I think of low fantasy, I think of like Game of Thrones, where there's very little magic or it's in the background. Most people are mundane. Maybe my definition is wrong.
Yeah, and I'm a very low fantasy guy. Like I said, I don't really like magic user in general, so especially as player character. So I'm not the one to answer that question, I guess. I play low fantasy game.
No, generally speaking, I prefer low fantasy games myself. I just have, a couple of exceptions, one notable. Bruce, what are your thoughts on the best high fantasy setting?
You're gonna probably not agree with me on my high fantasy the best, but my favorite fantasy game, aside from one that I'm writing right now, is gonna be probably second edition Hogshead Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which is not really high fantasy per se, but it is a fantastic fantasy role-playing game with a really good magic system. It has a good skill system. It has fast and dynamic combat. Like, you roll your to hit, and if you're to hit, well, that's not a good roll. If you roll a to hit and it's a 16, that's probably going to be a hit. But that same hit, figure out your damage. So you add a d6, add your strength, and now that hit is at location 61. That is going to be a left leg, and you hit him in the left leg for, say, 5 points of strength, plus a d6 comes up with another 5 for 10 points. He has 3 points of armor soaking that up. The remainder goes to his wounds. If you've depleted his wounds already, or his hardness and wounds, excuse me, and if you've depleted his wounds, then you've got another d10 roll, which this is a potential instant critical hit. And it turns into a very nasty one to where you could possibly decapitate him, rip his arm out of his socket, lodge your weapon in his rib cage, all within one hit. And that resolution is fast. It's within a 30-second time frame.
Okay, I mean, that's definitely visceral. I don't know if that qualifies as high fantasy, but again, I don't have the dictionary.
Well, their Realms of Sorcery book that came out finally in 2001, which had 5 levels of high elven magic and only 4 levels of magic for everybody else.
Okay.
The magic was fantastic, and it works well on both Theater of the Mind and on the battle board.
All right. I mean, it's obvious what I'm going to say because I talk about it all the time. My high magic setting, and I have many reasons for this. Yep. Everybody oh no, hold on. I got to get the actual drink. Everybody get ready. Put the beer emojis in the chat. It's Earth Dawn. What makes it high fantasy? Literally everything about the game is magical. Now, it's not magical in the same way as like Dungeons & Dragons, but everything in the game is magical. Your character classes, called disciplines, I'll probably use common terms, not Earth Dawn terms, are all magically based. Any weirdo can pick up a sword and over time learn how to use it. But in order to be an actual sword master, to get the magical abilities of sword master, you have to tap into that magic. Same with the warrior. Same with the Sky Raider, and I'm missing one of the fighter types. Warrior, Sky. No, those are the 3 big ones. Yeah. So magic, it's like DNA. I've always likened it to DNA. It's involved in everything in all aspects of the game. You have floating airships, you have magical light bulbs, and there's different types of magic. But doesn't make you necessarily overpowered because the monsters have that same type of magic as well. You'll start probably weaker than a first level D&D character. At least I feel that first circle Earth Dawn characters are a little weaker than first level D&D characters. But by the time you get halfway up, 8th, 9th circle, you're damn near anime. Mm-hmm. And by the time you get to 15th circle, you may as well be doing what's that? Dragon Ball Z? Is that the one where they can blow up planets?
Yummy.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my now. Would Palladium Fantasy fit in there? I think Palladium Fantasy can go either way. It can either be high fantasy or low fantasy, depending on how you treat magic. I would lean it towards higher fantasy than lower fantasy simply because it has a bunch of weird races in there, a bunch of powers, psychics, and so forth. But I think that can be how you run it. And yes, I do like Palladium Fantasy as well. I am a fan of Palladium Fantasy. I've played it a couple times. Never run it, but I've played it a few times, and I think I've enjoyed it every time. So. Is Bruce pissing in a cup? Well, it did kind of sound like that, yes.
It looked like that as well. That looked awful what you're drinking, Bruce.
Hey,
no offense.
But hey, he's drinking it and he gets to enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's St. Patrick's Day, so you should go with the Irish.
I would, but I didn't find any good Irish beer at the store because
I didn't either.
was sold out.
And just real quick in Rumble chat, I almost can't argue this. Best high fantasy setting, Star Wars D6. And for a second, yeah, because I mean it is science fantasy, right?
It is good science fantasy. I would say that Palladium Fantasy is really good, but if that is not the type of game world you want to play in, they're saying in chat that Warhammer Fantasy is actually low fantasy. If it's low fantasy, that's fine. I call it high fantasy because of all the various elements that are in that world. You have all the beastmen, the demons, you have the fucking minotaurs, you have Fae, Alfie-Hass. So
I guess that would count as fantasy because like you have a lot of characters that are non-human, and I guess that's usually like if most of your party are going to be human, usually that's a big mark of low fantasy.
Yeah,
if you have a lot of characters that be non-human. So I guess maybe Warhammer Fantasy would qualify as that, but even there, like if you roll for your race, like you're supposed to, you need a pretty high roll to be non-human. So there's still a skew there. There's non-human in the world, but they're not that common. Or it's kind of like on the line.
We didn't have a roll for the race. You chose your race. That was the only choice he got. After that, it was rolls.
Oh, thank you. I'm not going to say who sent it to me, but thank you. Apparently, Total Party Skills and Condor DM think they're going to team up against me. Oh no!
I saw that in chat, and I like Total Party Skill. King West Pinero.
Yeah, so did I. He's pissed off about the venture. See, that's the thing. That's somebody who doesn't understand #RPGate. I still have the DMs from Total Party Skills where he said, you make a really good moderator for people who have different beliefs than you and so forth. And then as soon as we had Venture on, he's like, I don't like these idiots. Whatever, dude.
Yeah, I made a video about that, but I felt like personally threatened, like being afraid to be in the crossfire from a drive-through. If like drive-through would go around,
so you should have more places than just drive-through. But I mean,
I agree. But like that's we all have our issue to deal with.
That's true. I have no animosity towards Total Party. I mean, I'm not happy with him calling us idiots. Of course, I made a little video that made fun of that as well because that's what I do. And he's allowed to do the same thing. But I think it's funny. Yes. Quality of my conversations must suck that people keep sending me messages about joining the chat and wanting to be part of this and co-streaming and whatever else is going on. Yes, it's so horrible, but people like what they like. Whatever, guys. I think again, make issues about nonsense. Let's just go ahead and do that. I mean,
people love drama. People love, and I'm in that too. Like I'm not gonna say that people love drama. Like I do too. Like it's fun. It's entertaining. And that's something also that should be understood. Like people sometimes make it a big deal of it, but it's YouTube stuff. It's like
it was exactly. And let's be honest, this show Friday Night Chill Stream, and you could say, well, it's also the time that you're on. I compete against a lot of big channels right now when I'm on at this time that people could be watching, maybe are watching. I've actually had people say, "Yeah, I watch you along with Friday Night Fights or Tights." Like, okay, cool. You do you. But this show gets a lot more views even after the fact than RPG Digest, where we talk about games. Now, RPG Digest over years does better, but over weeks, this show does better. And you're right, it's the drama thing.
You blew. There you go. $20 for that.
What? Yeah. You just blew $20, sir. It's a Squirrel Hermit. Thank you. Actually, Squirrel, I think I am going to stream a little longer. If you want to pop in, I'll let you.
Maybe that's a comment. Maybe he asked you for $20 to blow him.
Oh, maybe that's a question. Yeah, he forgot to put the question mark on there. Huh? Blow costs more than that. Yeah. But thank you, Squirrel Hermit, for the $20.
You can still get you could for 20. You could still probably go find old Meg.
No. Blow. He's talking cocaine.
Oh
No,
never mind.
I was in the same mindset as Bruce.
No, you guys were talking that, but then the comment that came out said blow costs more than that. Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But no. Look, guys, run your YouTube channels how you want, and you're absolutely right. That controversy does, especially when you can get emotional about it. Look, people are still to this day yelling at me that I don't have enough rants on Friday Night Chill Stream anymore, and especially they miss segment 2. Well, I'm sorry, but that's delineation now. That's the way it's going to be. But anyway,
The thing I missed about segment 2 was the Ethan Doug side of the rant. It was fun to see react and stuff like that. Since it doesn't come on the Friday Night Chill Stream, we kind of missed that a bit. You should try to have him on sometime, for old time's sake.
Well, it's his choice to not be on for this, and it's because he's busy. That's why when we do the members only, he has to leave. That's why the members only cuts off when it does. I could still be on there if you guys wanted me to. We could still chat on the members only live stream portion of that. But he has to go. He's got stuff that he does on Friday night. So. Okay, sounds good, Squirrel Hermit. Yeah, but so thank you again for the $20. But that's the thing. Look, yeah, drama sells, and if TPS wants to cry about the fact that I had Venture on because it could have hurt his bottom line, there's a lot of things that can hurt people's bottom lines. Like, look, I have no issues with TPS. I don't. Like, he can have all the issues he wants with me. I don't promote him, but then again, I don't promote people that fuck with me. But I don't hate him, and I don't tell anybody if I ever put a boycott on somebody or said, go stop watching them. No. Hell, Bruce knows one person in particular here that I'm still debating. Actually, it's not even going to be my choice whether I'm going to. Holy fuck, cat. The hell quarter got put into you. I'm debating whether I'm going to cover his book or not because he wants to be all douchey about me, but that's fine. I still think that his book is good, and probably when he fixes it up, and that's his decision, not mine, I'm going to cover it.
I think he's going to do a second edition.
Yeah, so I'll wait for that second edition because I liked his current one. Weird Guy likes his book, but for whatever reason, I pissed him off, and he wants.
I mentioned the book earlier.
No, you're welcome to mention the book. I don't stop. What are you running around like a fucking freak for? There's nobody in here. You're alone. Jesus, cat. But no, I don't put a ban on that. You can mention his book 300 times. I don't care. Like, I have no issues with him. He's mad at me because I snapped at him in Discord.
Yeah, and I don't. I also try to not get involved in like other people like shit. Like if you're not concerned, like just like people are like to have drama. But
hey, Janet, how you doing?
Yeah, you don't.
And you're like, is she watching on your channel? Yeah, she's watching on your channel. So that's cool. How watching on your channel allows her to. For me to see it here. That's actually cool. I like that.
We're doing a test, Janet, and I'm able to stream from this stream over here onto my channel. And this is pretty cool. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. So does Garthon have a channel? No. Is that who reviewed Basic Fantasy? Yes, that is. So let me put this on the screen. That's a little history. So we started live streaming many years ago, video games and so forth. One of the things that I wanted to do an Angry Joe show style. Yes, I know that he's a douche now, but at then I kind of liked him. I wanted to do an Angry Joe show style review of like video games and things that we were interested in. The other two at that time were not interested. This is before Heathen Dog. We're not interested in that. They wanted to be high roadie. Whatever, fine. so they went high roadie. Well, one guy left. He actually transitioned. He's a woman now. Garthon stayed on, and we brought Heathen Dog on as like kind of a stopgap. We had a few others as well. We had Rick, we had Bob, we had a couple others. You can see if you can find some of those really old ones. They're old, but Heathen Dog and Garthon hit it off in terms of the presentation. In fact, Heathen Dog completely just surprised the living crap out of me. I thought he was gonna be a problem. No, he was the opposite of problem. He was absolutely amazing, and so. They did the thing, but Garthon just was adamant. Family friendly. Garthon's one of those people that says that if you say a poo-poo word that you're obviously less intelligent, even though science disagrees with that. But so it stayed family friendly. And Heathen Dog, even though I'm the owner of the channel, okay, and I was doing all the background producing, he had a mute button that if I started going off the handle too much, started cursing, whatever, he had a mute button specifically for me so that it wouldn't go across for the few times I was on the show. And the reason I wasn't on the show is because I lived in Germany at that time and the show started at 2 a.m. Yeah, that just wasn't going to work out. So yeah, so Garthon host, he did comic book reviews. What ended up happening is, one, I was really pressuring them into doing things that they weren't as interested in doing because I wanted this to make money. And so they kind of, I don't want to say rightly, but understandably, pretty much like, F this. You're making this too much work. I'm out. Like, okay, but these are my expectations since it is my channel, my stuff. I know you're the host of it, but this is my stuff. So from there, yeah, but and also the other problem was that Garthon, the comics, he stopped buying comics. He used to buy, I think it was like 40 comics a week or something. He was down to like 5. Like he tries to stay away from that political stuff as well. He didn't get into all the comics gate and so forth. He didn't want anything to do with all this stuff. They ruined his major characters, all the characters that he liked in these comics. And he's like, I'm not going to read bad comics. So he didn't really have a segment to do anymore. So yeah. And then those things combined together. So when the Legion Myth Weekly live stream ended, I told Heathen Dog, I'm going to retool some stuff. I'd like you to be on as my counter. And this is the funny part for the other comment about, with Mr. Max saying, I like when Heathen Dog rants. I asked Heathen Dog to be on the show as the balance, as the when I start ranting as the one that comes down as the voice of reason. Yet it's more funny when he rants for whatever reason. So I mean, it just worked out the way it worked out.
I think it's like the straight guy, like when the straight guy does something goofy in a comedy show, it's funny. And it's the same thing with when he's supposed to be the balance, and then when he gets mad, then it's it's not supposed to be. But also you work well together. You come from different perspective, and you have a good dynamic. So I'm just like doing the brown nosing.
No. Well, I mean, people have said that because honestly, I need to hear that because sometimes I get a little weirded out because Heathen Dog and I will snap at each other on the stream. And I sometimes wonder, like, man, does that carry over? Now, it hasn't for us carried over after the fact. He has one gripe with me right now that I understand his point, and I'm giving him the 80% solution, but I'm not giving him the 100% solution because there's a comedic element to it as well. But he's grumpy about. But that's how we work. I ask him like, hey, could you do this or not do that? He asked me, could I do this or not do that? Sometimes we snaps, people like it to some degree, but I don't think, except for maybe one time, I don't think and that was during Degenesis. That's the only time where I think that the snapping got to the point where it's like, okay, this is kind of serious right now. And that was our second, when we talk about Degenesis, the dice rolling system, there's a way that it's worded in the book, and I don't even remember what it is now, but it's something about the way it's worded in the book. And he got very belligerent about how I was reading it versus how he was reading it. But other than that, yeah, we have disagreements. Yeah, sometimes he'll be like, okay, stop it, we're moving forward. And I have to remind him, this is my fucking show, not yours. You know. But without him, we don't have a good show, right? So I'm not going to step on his toes and be like, I'm ownership of everything. I do that on the production side. I don't do that on the streaming side because.
I think it's good also excuse me, I don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I think it's good also to see like two men like being able to disagree, to being able to snap at each other, but still being friends. It's something that we lost a lot nowadays. Like people are so like eye strong and just like, oh no, you said that, and like this story you talk about this guy that's mad at you for some reason. For no good reason, like, yeah, you could like that's how men used to talk, like when we were a group of men, like we call ourselves like bad name and we snap at each other, but then it's all right.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, when he does snap at me because I'm more emotional than him just by nature, I do get pissed. But I also don't keep it in because I do understand, exactly as you said, that we're not going to harbor this as some sort of, and I'll get the super chat in a second, we're not going to harbor this as some sort of vendetta against each other a year later. Like, haha, I remember that time. We're not, pardon the phrase here, but we're not like women where it's like we're going to bring this stuff up 7 years later after the fact. Remember when you said those poo-poo words to me? No, we handle it there, or we realize that was a moment that was a lot of times is great for viewerships. Sometimes Heathen Dog will come back and he'll say, hey, I didn't mean to get, that snippy about it, but I thought it'd be great for people, watching the show, especially during some of our old segment twos. Like, it'd be great for the people watching the show just to build it up. And I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, so no, yeah, we absolutely have this cool dynamic that I never expected. I'll be honest with you, I never expected it. So let me read the super chat, and then Bruce can chime in, showing off more Dragon. It says, you want to improve your channel? Fire anyone who is racist, hostile towards group with no reason given. And F. Capellan. God. Oh,
Gotta read it all.
And any effing or F-ing Capellan lovers, Archon of House Steiner for first Starlord. Hey, in a play-by-mail game, literally play-by-mail, where I was sending sheets of paper that thick through the mail, I played House Steiner. I ended up learning more about House Steiner than House Liao during a play-by-mail game. But so I can get with House Steiner. But effing Capellas, damn it. And any Capella, so I have to leave. I cannot be on the show anymore because I'm a Capellan lover. Damn it. But thank you for the $10.
Maybe that was directed at me as well.
Janet's concerned that hobbies will never return to what they were before pre-ESG invasion, before the Bolshevik termites got in. And she's specifically...
Wait, where's she saying?
To leave as well.
Is this in chat?
Yeah, Janet said it.
Comics will not get any better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw some of that. Yeah, it's okay. The chat's moving a little quickly here, so I didn't see that. But yeah, because I'm seeing her chat.
Yeah.
And by the way, welcome, Janet. I do watch you and some of the movie reviews that you and Bruce here do. I don't chime in a lot. Number one, number two, I'm so busy. It's background noise, but I do appreciate you hanging out with Bruce. I think that you guys should, if you guys have not done it, check out Bruce's channel for those movie reviews that they do. Very interesting. So, what do I got over here?
The Bolshevik termites, yes, they're Bolsheviks, but they embed themselves in the structural foundation of whatever they're going into. And then you can't get rid of them without getting rid of what you love. So it's kind of a problem. And so comics is under attack, has been for the past 15 or 20 years.
You know the thing is, Bruce, about the comics thing, because people have been talking about Comics Gate, we've got RPG Gate, whatever, right? Is that I feel that tabletop games were under attack first, but it was slower. Comics was overnight, because I can go and I can look at my RPG books that I bought in the 80s, the 90s. Didn't buy too many in the early 2000s. But they all have a sensibility about them, so to speak, depending on the game. And it wasn't but starting around 2000, I say with 3rd edition D&D, just as a timestamp, not as the game that caused it, but slowly started changing, that by the time we got to 2010-11, you had activists saying in there, change pronouns, change this. But it didn't really kick in until like 2015, 2016. You pick up a book from 1990, and it uses the proper English he as gender neutral. And I say proper English because I have facts on that. Go look at Merriam-Webster, go look at Chicago Manual Style, yada, yada, down the road. It wasn't until around that 2015, 2016 timeframe when all the activism kicked in at the same time as Comicsgate, right? Or the comic changes, that it just all of a sudden, boom, overnight changed. But gaming changed more gradually. It started around 2000. That's my take.
I think the gaming changed more gradually, and think you're right on that. But I think it's because it's much more decentralized. Producing an RPG book, it's much lower barrier of entry, especially with now print on demand and PDF and stuff like that. So you had like this D&D that's a big central point, that is the big 800-pound gorilla in the room, and then everybody else that is basically small compared to it. But all those small games together still put a big part of the audience of RPG.
So I'm gonna comment on this. I have some thoughts on this. So yeah, my two second edition player's handbook from D&D has pronouns discussed at the beginning of the book. A lot of game books did that. So here's a couple things. Number one,
proper.
Take this how you want, but most gamers are artists, and artists ruin everything. And here's what I mean by that. Gaming, yes, the war game side of it might be statistical. But most of gaming, especially by the time second edition came around, was a lot of imagination. It was a lot of novel. I hate to use the word story gaming, but it has definitely leaned in that direction, where you're going to get the more artistic types, which tend to be the more progressive types, dealing with that. Books as a whole weren't doing this. You only found this. Sorry, I didn't mean to elbow you in the face. Didn't know you were there. Books as a whole Like I said, weren't doing that, but certain gaming books were, because the postmodernist nonsense was pushing this forward. Secondly, who ran second edition AD&D? Who was leading TSR at that point?
Lauren
Ryan
Williams.
Williams.
Do you think she might have had a thought or two about that, being that she was the head of the company?
Also, if I remember correctly, in the PHB of second edition, it does discuss pronoun, but what it says he is used in a generic form
Yes.
to mean both woman and woman. So like that's kind of like, it would be better if it wouldn't be discussed, but if you have to, that's the way to do it as well. Like you say, like, yeah, we're gonna use he, it mean anybody. Don't worry about it.
Exactly, and it shouldn't even need to be discussed. But to this day, Merriam-Webster still has that as definition number 2. So if you're an American, anyway. But nowadays, because to be fair, if you look at RPG books, even before MLA, even before Time Magazine Word of the Year, and even before AP Style Guide mandated the change to they in the singular, gaming books were doing it before then.
Mhm.
So
Look, that's just having public schooling be the furthest some writer would go with some schlup barely able to teach English, and the kid goes in thinking he's going to write something that's going to sell, and I've got the best idea ever. I'm going to do this, blah 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 blah, and he types they.
it's activism.
And
Man, the people like not being able to write. I'm not a native speaker, and it's driving me crazy.
You know, what's funny is the Red Room guys say the same thing. Both Sylvia and Miguel have said the same thing. So it's funny to hear that foreigners have bigger issue. We ran into an issue in the Battlelords book, and one day I keep threatening to do this and I haven't, but we ran into an issue with the 7th edition Battlelord book where we couldn't figure out a rule because it essentially said when they do this to them, they get a +2 to their this, so add this to their, and it's like, dude. First of all, technical writers don't do that. Technical writers say when the attacker does this to the defender gets this added to this, and then the attacker gets this other. You know, we actually spell out words. We try not to use pronouns as much as possible. That's the first thing. But the second one is if you had used he for the attacker and they for the defenders because you're talking about this multiple thing, because Heathen Dog and I talked about it would have made perfect sense. But you got such this prohibition, can't say he in the singular because some fucking 8%er is going to get all butthurt over it.
hopefully they become a 42%er.
Well, I hate to say it, but 100% we've lost that fight because all of my right wing friends are now doing they in the singular as well.
Nope.
Well, it can always come back, and well, they say like
No, it won't.
Well, the Zoomer is pretty savage.
But they're doing
Alpha
they
gonna
in
be
the
worse.
singular also.
Yeah, not all of them. Look at Shadow and Son. I doubt he's gonna do day in singular.
Well,
and he's not alone in that.
well, I mean, I've heard Shadow himself say it. I mean, I'm pretty particular about picking it up. And here's the other thing.
Shadow's son is much more based than Shadow himself. Like,
True. But here's one caveat. When somebody, let's say like you, Mr. Max, were to say that, I'm not going to call you out on the stream like, you did it. If you were to write a book, though, yeah. I told it to Kevin. And when I heard Sean talk on our live stream and he was saying, well, yeah, when a player does this and they get that, don't think I didn't hear that, Sean. I know you're not listening right now, but that gives me much fear. I actually wrote to Kevin and said, if you ever change your books to go they in the singular, I will stop buying them. I don't care how good they are. He had a response back to that. I won't say what it is, again, private email, but I told him that. So, but at the same time, he's got to be a business, and, he gets other people than just me chiming in his ear as well about things. So,
do you mind if I address something in chat? I seen a comment there by a Guardian of the Rune that he says it feels like video game change overnight, and I've been privy to that because you might have known I've been working in the video game industry for more than a decade.
Okay.
And the time there that I started there, like it was around 2009, 2010, I saw the change happen in real time. It was crazy at the time. Like it was very like meritocracy, and like there was a very heavy libertarian lean in the video game industry. And among this 10 years, you saw it creep up. Some activists got engaged, and then they made their way through nepotism, to our managerial position, and that accelerated that accelerated change quite a bit. And even like good guy that had this libertarian streak to them change and became those like
So two comments. Sorry, two comments to that. Number one, do you know that libertarians pushed a lot of the woke agenda for money?
Well, yeah, but
there's an article I read about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that talked about a lot of those things like Gizmodo, Vice, whatever. I mean, Vox, I don't know exactly which ones, were run by libertarians who found out that, you know what, if we say these things, do these things, we get more clicks and that's more money. Let's do it.
Yep.
So they're part of the problem. But here's the other thing. Video games, generally speaking, are art.
Yep.
And artists are almost always on the progressive side. I'm not saying every last individual one of them, but the vast majority of them are the left-leaning, folks who agree with all of this. Just let everybody do whatever.
I was a video game artist. That's what I was doing. I was an artist in a video game company. So yeah, of course, not everybody else, because I don't think you could believe that I ever been a progressive.
I mean, I used to be considered an extreme moderate. I remember Garthon telling me one time, he's like, man, you are so zealot. You're such a zealot, but in the middle. Well, what happened to me is I basically got red-pilled over time as I saw blue stuff not working and red stuff working. I want to be in the middle. I want to be have that compromise, but compromise never works out. And I've slowly just gone more and more to the red side, and yeah, and that's why. And Poncho, we need people like you and Mr. Max and the Red Room and so on and so forth to stand up and say this more and more to folks. And I'm not calling you out like you did anything wrong, but that's what would be beneficial, is having more people stand up. Because my thing isn't that it's not workable at all. My thing is that it's unnecessary, and I don't like unnecessary change. You read my blog post on legionofmyth.tv/pronouns with an S at the end of it. I have a whole write-up about all the dumb arguments that people come up why we have to do it, and literally none of them are good.
And you know, they're trying to push that gender-neutral pronoun in French as well. That drives me crazy. So, like, you know French a bit, eh? You know, it's a very gender language.
Yeah, I thought France said "f you" to that.
France said it, but Quebec didn't.
Oh, well, that's because you're under Canadian law, and Canada has that forced mandated. So, what do you have? What do you have for the?
Oh, they're doing like for il and L,
okay,
which is e and she. Now they're doing yell. It's awful. And you know, all the words like adjective or according to the gender of the people that the adjective.
Lucien, Asha,
yeah, well, but like if you say like a good cat, is gonna be masculine because cat is masculine.
Cat's masculine.
Cat is masculine.
We have
a word for a masculine cat and a feminine cat.
Never learned that. I just learned Lasha and Le Chien.
No, it's La Chatte. But if you say that like that, out of context, that's a pussy. So
okay.
So, but yeah, but now like they're also like doing like they're gonna put the masculine termination of the adjective, then a dot, then the feminine. So you got like a whole bunch of like dot all over the sentence that doesn't make sense, and it became like such a nightmare to read. The whole thing is awful. Like that's part of the reason why I quit the corporate world, because now every communication we receive would be like that, and now it's starting to be expected that you use it and say, no, that's enough. I don't need that job. I'm out of here.
I can't tell if facetious or not. Then I'll get back to the super chat. Canada is now a post-nationalist communist shithole. It's great up here.
Yep, it's true.
All right, super chat. Weird Guy for $10. Thank you, Weird Guy. Says, pushing left-wing politics in our games is also how we get extreme reactionary games like RPG Men. Ask Bruce. Oh, I know. I couldn't get through. Bruce got through it better than I could. I loved Men conceptually, but I got tired of it after. I think I watched 40 minutes of Bruce's video, and I'm like, I can't take this anymore. But at the same time, that type of satire, even with the couple of, we'll say, faux pas in the book, is necessary to push back at the same time. or video games like Subverse. You know what? I think I backed Subverse. Then I never played it. I think I did back it though. A porn game that made $2 million on Kickstarter because I don't do video games anymore. And I got one more super chat. Then I have to look at the Rumble chat where you guys are commenting. Panchagama said pushing gender neutral in Spanish too, but since Latinx fell very flat, yeah. In fact, did you see that they're going after Latin people now for not accepting? White women wanted Latinx, and the Latinos are like, nah. And so white women are pissed off at minorities because not accepting white woman logic. Hey, let's see how that works out for you. The new one is Latine with the neutral ending in E. Wow, thank you for the $5. That's crazy.
Like French is like Latin, like Spanish and French got a similar kind of like gender thing, but French is a specific language because French is a top-down language, and it's one of the only, to my knowledge, top-down language. Like usually, like in an English dictionary, the dictionary define how the word are used. So the dictionary is expected to change with the word usage changing. In French, it's the opposite. In French, the dictionary tell you, and we have like in French, they have like the Académie Française, the French Academia, and in Quebec, we have the National Office of the Language. So, and they make the decision about the language, and then we, the people, have, it's a very strange thing, but it's like one of the only language, or the only language, to my knowledge, that does that like it's top-down language. It's insane. But because of that, when they have like those activists, if those activists take hold of that, it's easier for them than to force this change on everybody. And the one in Quebec has been very bad. Back in the day, the France was laughed at for the decision. The French Academy was laughed at for the decision they made for the French language, but now they're better than we are in Quebec. Anyway.
So, I love what's going on in France right now.
Yeah,
I do. I'm proud of them because the French know how to protest, how to truly make their politicians quake in fear. And I wish Americans could reach down and find their balls and make our people do that.
But in French, they protest so much. That's going off topic. In French, they protest so much that it's losing its impact. I lived in French for a while, and there's always a strike for something somewhere. And then you ask at people, like, why are the people striking? Why are people like protesting? Why are they upset? And they just say, like, people just shrug and say, people are unhappy. Like, it kind of loses power. Anyway, sorry, it's off topic.
No, sometimes this is a chill stream. It sometimes happens. I'm going to say something that Mr. Max and Bruce can disavow. I'm going to keep this on the screen. First of all, it's not transphobic. Secondly, fuck trans testicles, okay? And I don't mean literally. I mean in the metaphoric way. They're such a small minority. They deserve jobs. They deserve houses. Deserve cars. They deserve the lifestyle of whatever. Well, okay, you can say no, but to me, they deserve the human dignity to have a life. That is the end of it, though. That is they're not above mockery. It is not phobic. We look, you look at somebody with one arm and be like, wow, that person only got one arm. You're going to look at somebody who should have a dick and doesn't, and be like, that person should have a dick and doesn't. You don't get anything fucking special. You don't get a language change because of your fucking feelings. It's not transphobic. It's you being a grievance culture moron. It's you going, oh, look at, they're so beautiful. No, they're not. They're broken fucking people. They are not legitimate, normal human beings. They deserve the life, like a midget. A midget deserves a life. Now, he can't reach the top fucking shelf, but that's why God invented ladders.
That it doesn't mean that we have to lower every shelf in the store.
Right. Exactly.
And also, I try to be careful because I've been called out. I've been on Angara stream on a Thursday, and then like this Elevate guy got upset at me for some stuff I said about this subject. But I'm not a hateful person at all. I can sometimes shit post in chat and stuff like that. But I do believe that every human being deserves human dignity.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of those people, I think a lot of people are unhappy in life, and they seek some solution. And sometimes this is the solution that is pushed on that. And I'm not saying it's for everybody. I cannot say that, obviously. But I think a lot of people get into that. And there's a lot of people that regret the choice they made after. And oftentimes there are lifelong and that's something that I say we need to be more careful about that.
Yep.
Because we're pushing people, and it's very cruel. And it's easy to say, oh yeah, no, do that. It's going to make you happy. And like, it's like washing your hand out of it. You know, you don't want to deal with the problem. People are unhappy. People have problem with that. And instead of trying to help them, you kind of enable them. And I think that's wrong. And I'm not saying that because I hate anybody. I said that it's quite the opposite. I love it. I love people, and I think we should try to make a real effort to help people and to find real solution instead of just pushing them. There's so many.
It's affecting. It's fixing the symptom and not the root cause.
Exactly, and it's not even fixing the symptom oftentimes. It's like a patch that it's hiding the symptom.
What the fuck, hell? Wow. Wow. All right, Bruce, thoughts?
I just read I just heard Max talking and Janet popped in. I agree 100% with what he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't think deserve is the right word. You get to start, like the rest of us, we all get to start at square one. And where you go from square one is up to you. It's not up to me to drag your ass along. And I don't feel it's anybody else's responsibility to make sure that you have fire lit under your ass. You're supposed to use that tinder stick, and you're supposed to get going yourself. If you choose to opt for a life where you protest on a street corner and badger traffic to give you $1 or give you money or handouts, that's completely up to you. And you deserve from the fruits of that labor. If you decide to lay in a puddle of your own piss at night, that's completely up to you because you made these choices. You said, I want to be a doper, I want to be a bum, I want to be homeless. But you get to start like the rest of us. Mm-hmm. And it's not continuous. You don't have to lose every day. You get the chance every morning to make these decisions. Are you going to be a responsible person and go out and do things to put food on your plate the honest way, the right way, and to treat yourself with dignity? Because if you don't respect yourself, then you're not going to respect the world around you. You can take yourself lightly. You can have a joking attitude and be like, you win some, you lose some. Okay. And hopefully you learn. But I don't believe that anybody deserves squat. And honestly,
to be on topic here, you don't deserve to have the language changed for you or societal norms changed for less than 1% of the population. Yeah, I would say for 10% of the population, you don't get to have that, let alone less than 1% of the population.
I wouldn't even say 33 or 50 or 51. Well, we need to honor the traditions we were given.
I'm not for democracy, so
I get you. I mean, change for the sake of change is bad, but I mean, societies change all through time. Obviously, society today is different than it was when I was born in 1973. I saw a change in the 80s, 90s. Not some of it, yes, not all of it. That's for darn sure. Sometimes what I believe personally is that our intelligence outsurpasses our wisdom in most cases, using gaming terms. Mm-hmm. But Bruce is charisma. What's that?
In my case, my charisma. But no, I'm kidding.
I don't have any of that, so I don't even worry about it. But ultimately, my thing is that. Go ahead.
They don't deserve us to try to twist the language, which has been in service for over 500 years, maybe over 1,000. I can't tell you the start of the modern English language. Was it in the 1200s or 1300s? But
it was before that.
What I can tell you is that we don't need to change all of this just for that sliver of a percentage.
And it doesn't matter what the sliver is. It could be people who have been to the moon. It could be transgenders. It could be blind people who can see. Whatever the hell it happens to be. Whatever that minuscule minority is, you have the rights of the Constitution. You don't have the rights to change our way of life, and that's what has happened.
I talk about it on my other channel, TSM Training with Mr. Max Bovet, because I'm involved in the powerlifting world, and now we have those issues about like trans women that want to compete against women, and of course, in a strength sport, that's going to be an issue. And now, like the judge are forcing them to that. And I made a video about that. And I say, like, we all have a freedom of choice, but we cannot have the freedom of the consequence of our choice. And if we make the choice to live on the margin, to do something that is abnormal, not in the norm of society, we have to accept that society won't cater to our every whim. And this goes for many things. And the example I say like that, like the guy that go hard in powerlifting, a lot of the things become unavailable to them, because you get like a big muscly guy, you're gonna get too heavy to ride a horse. you're not gonna be comfortable in a plane seat. You would go for a ride, and they won't be able to close the safety around your chest because like those guys got those chest thick as a bus. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You make those life choices that are abnormal. You made yourself abnormal in a way, even if it's in a positive way in some way, because being strong is good always. But but then you have to accept that something are going to be off limit for you, and
Right.
that's the thing that everybody need to accept. Like you can make your own choice, but you have to accept the consequence of those choices.
So let's pull this back off of politics, because this isn't a politics channel, and that's my fault. It's not these guys' fault. You know, I let it go into that because I wanted to say what I had to say. But let's change the context here. So I got a question on this was more talking about the Condor TPS thing, but we can actually relate it also to this topic we were just talking about. So do you incorporate any of this kind of drama in your games? If you do, how do you do it? I'm going to let you guys go first because I don't think I have a straight answer. So we'll start with Bruce.
The drama that I have in my games typically comes from things that are outside of my game table. Like, hi, Shauner, I know you're here. And when you did that sniping stream of us, that was cool. I didn't mind it. I just wish you would have been more genuine and admitted that you knew who I am. We've talked before. And my friends and my fellow gamers use that opportunity to blast the shit out of you, because just because you blocked me, I mean, the consequences for that were basically you were going to get shit on for the hot takes. And I don't hate you. I don't appreciate what you did. I wish you would have been more honest. And I know you don't like miniature gaming. That's fine. I know you don't like adventure gaming, as you call it. But that's, everybody's there's a butt for every seat. And the way you play is not the way I play. But I still respect the way you play because I love the accents. I love the inflections, the changes of voices for the different characters. I think that has a place at almost every table. But I honestly feel that that's about the most drama I've had at my table in about 10 years. The only time we had a situation, there was a situation a while back where an acquaintance of ours showed a video of my game, and then they're like, I don't even know this guy. What the hell's he doing here? It's like, dude, that's the most disingenuous thing we've seen, because we all know that people have seen us on stream together. We've traded barbs and traded jokes. Just, I wish you'd be more honest about it. I'm not trying to light you up. I don't hate you. I want you to succeed. I do like some of your 3D modeling work. That's about the most drama I've had in 10 years.
I mean, I've always said, even after being blocked, Shauner has the right to do what he wants. I like Shauner. So I still watch some of his videos. I have literally no issues with him. So even, I mean, that's how Shauner and I met. Honestly, that's how Aaron the Pedantic and I met. That's how Shauner and I met. That's how there's a couple others in there I met through some sort of reaction video. It is what it is. I'm cool. And I've always said this. I think Shauner's way of playing is good. I like it. I think it's a way. It should inspire us to play that way to some regard. His where I am, what I'm doing. I like that. I just think he's too puritanical about it, but that's fine. That's how he finds his 1%, his eliteness. So back on the topic here of, do you incorporate some of this drama in the game? Go ahead, Mr. Max. Do you incorporate drama like this of some sort in your games?
It's funny that it comes to this topic, because some people on my channel came and made some comment, and they were trying to stir some shit up. They asked me, and I engage with them honestly. And at some point, I turned on a conversation. Somebody asked, "Oh, what do you think of a LGBT character in game?" And I said, if you want to have them in your game, that's fine, but you should try to make it an aspect of a character, and not the whole thing that it is. And especially when you think about NPCs, like most of the people we interact with in life, we don't know who they sleep with,
right?
And we don't care, and it's irrelevant. So when you force that you say that the blacksmith in the village is in a gay marriage or is homosexual or whatever, then it feels forced, and that's a mistake, because then people are going to react and be repulsed by that. It's not relevant to the role of the character.
So can I address that for a second? Mm-hmm. Because And DM Thor, it's funny. Your comment didn't show up on my YouTube, but it showed up in the StreamYard, and that was funny. I like that. So Paco, is that his name? Paco from GNS Gaming or whatever the fuck his channel's called. We called him out because he basically said what you or the opposite of what you were saying. It's like, I'm going to continue to put gay people in there, and it's up to you to take it out. It's like, that's backward think. And I think that so many of these modern creators have backward think. Less is more, folks. If I want the character to be gay, it'll be gay. If I don't want the character to be gay, and if this ever even matters, you putting it in there is showing activism. And the fact is, instead of calling it out as activism, like, oh, you're so brave. No, that's not brave. That's just straight up activism. If it isn't relevant, don't put it in. If it isn't even relevant that the character's a human or elf, you don't have to put that in there. However, that is common attributes of a D&D style game. So
it is also something it's also something you see from the get-go.
Absolutely fair. Yes, you're right. I ran a game back when I was in the Air Force where we rolled at a central casting, and the guy rolled up a gay character, and he played it. This is long before it was like open. We were in the military too. Oh my God, that's right around the time Don't Ask, Don't Tell just started, and he played it and enjoyed. Well, he had fun with it, and I'm not talking in an over top like, oh my God, throw it away. No, he actually played it in a serious motif, and it worked out. Because it felt natural in how he did it. It wasn't baked in like, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this.
So, and that's the thing. It should be like an aspect of the character you're putting. It should be like the whole of, or the center, the focus point of your character. If you do that, it's going to be annoying. You're going to come as a caricature and stuff like that. And everyone, like, I know gay people in my life, and it's not all they are. There are people, you know, and that's.
I work with one, and other than somebody else telling me, I would never know.
There was in 2006 the release of 2007. Paizo released their first adventure path for Rise of the Rune Lords, and it was about Sandpoint and the coming invasion of it. And they gave you an article where you had to read about the various townsfolk, and not really well buried in it. It was actually kind of blatant. It tells you that the paladin of the town and some female shopkeeper are in a lesbian relationship. And you read over that, and it's not really a big story point, but they mention it. You go on the Paizo forums in 2007, and everybody's acting like, oh my God, we have a second coming. We're allowed to have gay people in an RPG.
Who stopped you in the first place?
Yeah, and that was kind of my question. Like, I mean, you could put gay people wherever you wanted. It's your table.
Yeah.
You should have been doing that all along. If it's your table and nobody's going to give a shit, you can make your entire world gay. You know, everybody could be Victor Victoria if you so choose. And I do love that movie, Janet. I do think that's a great movie. I also, Preston is just an amazing actor. But I really think that they fouled up because they were trying to make a statement like you can put gay people in your game. And the thing is there were so many people that I talked to in the last 15 years about that adventure. And nobody that I know ever had it to where it was a moment at the table where like, oh yeah, well, she's dating or she's married to the female paladin. Nobody ever ran that. That was something that was just a blurb in a book, and we all read it, and we were all like, huh, not at my table. And we didn't really even think about it in that hostile sense. It wasn't required for us to make it a mention. Nobody cared who the paladin was licking. Nobody cared.
You also have to think about
that goes, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
I was just finishing. It's just like nobody really cares who you're banging or doing or whatever. But if it becomes a topic at the table during play, it'll might come up. It probably won't. And nobody that I talked to, I've talked to over 70 DMs that have ran that campaign. That's the first campaign Paizo came out with. Anytime they have a new product, it's always Rise of the Rune Lords this or Rise of the Rune Lords that. And that's their flagship. That's what they want to be known for. And I wish them well on it. But nobody that I know ever gave any lip service about the paladin and her little carpet munching buddy. And I think, probably I should broaden my circle to just cis white men game masters, but that's my crew. That's my people, and nobody gives a shit. If I had more blue land whale GM friends, I'd probably hear all day about how they would just go to the paladin's house and watch them lick each other. But
And it would get annoying.
Focus of our games,
So one of the things that you kind of hit on is again, the term that I'm stealing from Sean from Palladium is implicit versus explicit. Modern gamers want things to be so explicit. That's why books are this thick with every rule and possibility and so forth in there. That's in a lot of cases are kind of unnecessary. Not every case, but in a lot of cases are unnecessary because they want everything to be explicit. If you didn't explicitly say it, it can't exist for some reason. Where it used to be, unless it's mentioned, do what you want. It's only if it is mentioned that it's explicit, and everything else is just implicit in however you want to do it. And I think that's one of the things that's wrong about gaming today is so many things have to be explicit. Now, how I incorporate this kind of drama, where it's like, again, the comments being more about TPS and Condor, or let's just say that this modern stuff here, is I actually make kingdoms that include things. I have I'll have like a socialist kingdom, which will have good sides to it and bad sides to it. I will have a libertarian kingdom that will show all the benefits and drawbacks of being libertarian. Now, I don't do that intentionally, like, oh, this is libertarian land, this is commie land, this is monarchy land. I do it in a way, at least I like to think I do it in a way that feels a bit natural, but it allows the characters to visit different kingdoms and get different feels. How does the paladin act when he leaves theology land and goes to secular land? So I like to have those kind of things. It also allows those border disputes to make more sense. Where, no, we actually have a different way of life over here, and we don't want your way of life, no matter what it happens to be, and they can figure it out from there. So that's how I incorporate that kind of drama. And of course, rumors and storytelling and people saying this about that. So using like the Avenger thing that TPS is all up and got his panties in a bind about, where somebody from that land over there might not like what Venger had to say and think that is ruining society for whatever reason. Hey, that's what spurs on the confrontation between them. The players have to deal with some of that. Now, this comment came up. LGBTQ said to be 10%. No, we actually did an episode on that. Now, the episode's a couple years old, but it was based on the 2020 census. It was 4.1%. It did say that it was growing, but the growth, it is undetermined if the growth is because more people are coming forward or if because it's becoming the current thing. And I think it's going to take 20 to 30 years before we know that, but it's 4.1%. However, I like this number because this is the number I grew up with, where people were talking about, yeah, it's probably 10% of the population, which even then I still didn't care that it was 10% of the population. Like 10% isn't enough to change everything for. You don't harm them. Mockery is harm. No, it's not. Mockery is not hate. Fuck off. Everybody gets mocked. I get mocked. Everybody gets mocked. Deal with it. You don't second class them in the terms of law. We all have the same equal opportunity under the law. So there aren't laws that differentiate whether speeding is a bigger fine for somebody of the LGBT versus somebody who's not. With that said, you don't get any special anythings. Like that's just like, no. So.
And I wanted to bounce off your idea of kingdom. I think that's a good way to do it because it gave like an identity to each kingdom, and it gave a reason also for it to be different kingdom and different land where people want to live in different way. And also, if you want ever to continue on that, and also like for the LGBT issues and stuff like that, if you want to integrate that in your game, I would say also to consider the type of setting you have, how it would fit in the setting, and how it would influence the setting. Because it's going to be harder to integrate in the pre-modern society where most people are on subsistence farming and where having a lot of children is important, stuff like that.
So the counter to that is, in a game of dragons and magic, there's no reason you can't have transgenderism and so forth. See, what it comes down to is your verisimilitude might be different than my verisimilitude in that regard. And I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. So,
and like they also have spells that can actually make you change, but that's the whole thing. Then I made a whole video also about like iMagic setting. Like if you have iMagic setting, that would change. You wouldn't be in a pre-industrial medieval society, because like if you have like a lot of magic that is reliable and stuff like that, that's a form of technology at this point. It would incur like a technological revolution. So it would change the world so much more than if you want to do that.
The girdle, masculinity, femininity. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a fun Munchkin card too.
Yep.
So, but I agree that if you want to have it in your game, there's nothing wrong. What I don't like is the explicit expectation that it needs to be in your game. That's where it's gone off the deep end. I mean, let's look. Willow got canceled. What's the Amazon? There's another Amazon series that got canceled. I mean, they're canceling these series. Get Woke, Go Broke. Now, to be fair, people are pushing back saying, yeah, Netflix has a bad habit of just doing that anyway after one season, because that first season makes money. After that, it's a drain on them. That may be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's because people after the first season don't want to watch the rest of the nonsense. I don't know. But,
If it was good, they would still watch, yeah.
yeah, well, right. I mean, people wanted more of The Expanse. And some people
watch Game of Thrones to the end and then got very disappointed by it, but they watched 8th season and they were waiting for those.
Still watching Blacklist, and I tell you what, the main storyline ended 2 seasons ago. You know, it's like so if yeah, fair. If it's good, you'd think that people would watch it, but you know, I'm not a TV producer, but I don't think gaming's going to change. I think gaming's going to move forward the way it is. WotC's going to continue to push the agenda. Paizo's going to continue to push the agenda. Since that's the 800 and 400 pound gorilla, all the little clone wannabes are going to push that agenda as well. And you're just going to see this gain more and more steam. The OSR has this problem as well. Not from some of the bigger creators, but within the OSR, there's a lot of this nonsense as well. And I wish people like Pundit and Venture and what's his name, Job from Inappropriate Characters would call that out, because I think they've got the best venue to do that. Call out how a lot of this is infiltrating the OSR side. And this is to be very clear. This isn't to say, and I think we've all been honest about this here, this isn't to say you can't have a gay character in the game, but making that the point of the character, making that the point of the adventure is the problem. It is not good storytelling in any facet of what storytelling is ever taught.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to end that.
No, I see also like a comment in the chat, and I want to address something, because like obviously I'm a Christian, I wear the cross and stuff like that, and you know, I'm not like I because of that I got some belief. You know, you could expect. I see that as a sin, but like we have to remember that we're all sinners. We all have issues that we'll deal with, and you know, we're told to not cast the first stone. Like we want to try to help people, and people can reform and redeem themselves. And we need to deal with people with human dignity and compassion. But it's also knowing not to. There's a difference between like you don't want to promote sin either. So that's a different. I'm just saying that because I see like people in the chat that are Christian and.
Sure. Now that is a monotheistic, aspect of it in a game that might not consider that a sin. And to be fair, in the real world, I'm not Christian. Okay, let's be upfront about that. I was raised Lutheran, but I don't consider myself Christian anymore. But I still hold a lot of the Christian ideals. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but in a game world that doesn't have that monotheistic religion, that may not be ever anything that ever came up. Who cares? Or maybe they all live like Romans, for example. And I know some of that is actually exaggerated by the Romans, but it was still true at the same time. But maybe they all live like that. I mean, I'm just saying, in a fantasy setting, who's to say that is a quote unquote sin? Now, to be fair, I'm not going to go ahead, Bruce. Sorry.
They would have judges and laws for that, and they would have a
actual
set of dictums that you would probably know in a town or municipality. Hey, don't get caught pushing poop here with your pecker, because if you do, you're going to get punished.
Yeah, but why would there be punishment? I mean, I can think of reasons, don't get me wrong, but why would there be that punishment? And if that's what makes sense, yeah.
It could be a Christian theocracy. You could have a mindset like 600 AD Saudi Arabia. Any number of reasons. So you could have that. And if you so choose to have that sort of game table, that is completely your choice. Nobody has any choice, has any authority to tell you how dare you run your game table like that. Now that's the joy of this. This is play. Let's pretend or make believe. And sometimes you have a world that does frighteningly mirror our own in a historical sense.
Sure. And that's, again, verisimilitude. It's something that in storytelling we can grab onto. This is a mistake I think a lot of people make in their D&D games, myself included, Sky also, is that we treat those gods as monotheistic gods. And Forgotten Realms did a lot to fuck that up when it came out with the books with all the gods, with Torm and Mister and all stored in there, because they don't act polytheistic. A cleric, and this is why I'm very adamant about clerics are polytheistic, priests, because I'm a second edition player. If you're a cleric, you venerate all the gods, good, bad, and otherwise. If something bad happens, yes, that's the curse of the evil god. If something good happens, that's whatever aspect of the good god. If you're trying to bless somebody, you take the aspect of the god that's most appropriate to that. Priests, on the other hand, choose a specific god. That's just how I do it in mine, to separate those two. But we have this really big Christian, because we're raised in a Mr. Max, are you going to get mad about this? But I use the term, the Judeo-Christian Western ideology, that we have these ideals just in us, whether we're raised Christian or not, where this is morally good, this is morally bad. I know a lot of people are trying to change that now, but so we think of so much of the religion as being monotheistic. Like, oh, you worship what are the Dragonlance? You worship Paladine? Well, I worship Mishakal. My god's better than your god. It's like, whoa. A priest of Mishakal actually looks at a priest of Paladine as being elevated because Paladine is the primary god of good. The other ones are subordinate to Paladine. But it's that whole my god's better than your god thing of the Abrahamic religion. So, we lost. Sorry, I guess Mr. Max got mad, but hopefully he gets that.
I think this Canadian that probably
it could be. Again, you can run your games differently, and I want Mr. Max, because of his Christian ideals, I actually want him to address this. So hopefully he'll come back. But so Bruce, just to keep on that topic until Mr. Max hopefully comes back, what are your thoughts on that? So I know he'll want to chime in.
Mr. Max Boyven's mic died. He'll be back. I think that it's going to have to be up to the authority of every individual GM decide how far they want to delve into that topic. It's not a mandatory topic. You don't have to plumb the depths of sexuality versus what's right in morality and what's legal within your kingdom. It's kind of funny because you have Guardian of the Rune, NJP, says high fantasy makes 0 sense. Pathfinder has gender-changing potions, but every time they get the opportunity to write a gay character, they write a gay character. No, just be the opposite. Since you're attracted to the positive, be the negative, and you'll match. You'll have your life you want, and it makes sense because if you have all of these amazing 5th and 7th level spells that change your sexual genitals into the other sexual genitals, why would you option unless you're destined to be poor? Okay, well, I guess you're going to be a poor gay guy or a poor lesbian. Poor for you, huh? Sad for you. You should have been an adventurer. Sorry, kid. But for those that opt to adventure, they will have the opportunity to get their wish fulfillment if they can just level up enough to get all that gold and then be like, well, here's my 32,000 gold. I'm going to Dr. Sex Chain Surgeon and Absalom, and they're going to give me a magic vajayjay. And I'm going to get rid of my penis. And I think that would make more sense to have that than for them to have this miserable fiction and fantasy world where they're like, we have all this God world changing magic shit, but I'm going to be an unhappy gay person anyway. My bad.
Are you ready for a hot take before Mr. Max jumps in? Because I'm sure you want to comment on some of the stuff that I said. Here's a hot take for you. This is one of the reasons why I prefer having the Baatsu and the Tanari over demons, devils, etc. It removes some of the connections to monotheistic concepts from the game. I disagree with you, but your point, I understand your point. I prefer demons and devils, but your point is well made in that one, and I can fully understand that.
The point I wanted to make before I lost my connection, sorry,
Mhm.
is you mentioned you were saying why would a religion would consider homosexuality a sin?
I mean,
And
we can make up reels. I'm just saying, let's ask the question. So go ahead.
yeah, but as a thing, like one thing.
You're muted. I didn't mute you this time, but it has the mute icon. So this means you click something.
Unclick your mute.
Yeah,
Your microphone is muted.
yeah. I'm actually showing. There you go. Oh nope, now I can't hear you. You might have clicked your button over here also.
You hear me? Or you know?
Yep,
I
gotcha.
can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, my microphone is having trouble. I think it's the cable that's broken. But yeah, if you're in a pre-modern society, you have to consider like sexuality is about reproduction.
Yes.
And if you're a religion that want to have more followers, oftentimes it's going to go through the birth. So that would be a good reason to push your follower not to. And if you want to be in a world that allows everything goes, then that's something you have to consider, in my opinion. How would you deal with that?
No, I agree. It can be done. My point was, you've got. There should be a reason for it or against it. If somebody asks that question, it's like, why wouldn't they? Well, and I'm 100% on board with you, because it is for reproduction, and at that point, survival is more important than anything else, and this is the best way to for survival. Now, maybe a large city might still have the law in place or the concept in place, but they don't really enforce it.
And if you look similarly, on the other hand, if you play in a cyberpunk setting, for example, then it would be weird not to have any.
100% agree. I've got to let my cat out. He's driving me nuts right now. I'll be right back.
Mac,
So,
how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. So, well, finally we got to talk a bit.
Yeah, and actually kind of on a stream where we can actually delve into politics here and there, and then we have to get dragged back to talking about games, but then to go back to politics.
Well, yeah, we should. That's the thing too. Is I have stuff to say, but like I try to keep it about game. And like I said, like I'm a new channel. And like we said earlier, drama sell and outrage sell. I try not to be just that, but so that's why I want to put like a gaming topic related.
Yeah, I like to keep this on gaming, because I know I sidetracked it a little bit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about what we're talking about now, especially it's in a gaming context. But I don't want it to get outside of that, so I appreciate you guys keeping it.
But it's hard also, because like when they push politics into gaming, well, then we kind of have to talk politics.
Uh-oh. Got another super chat. Who do we got? That weird guy again for $10. Again, thank you, sir. Really appreciate all the super chats that have been popping in tonight. This is another reason for why Palladium Fantasy First Edition is better than Second. It has demons and devils. The leader of the devils is Satan, and has 666 hit points. Then page 1 has a disclaimer too. Yeah, well, Kevin's always put the disclaimer, and that was kind of a thing of the 80s, like, this isn't real, don't go kill yourself. I always thought that they were stupid even back then, of like, if you want to kill yourself over a game, please do it, get off the planet, Darwinism wins, whatever. But I do get it. Now they're what, devils and devils or something, which I think devils is a really dumb word. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, the people who know more about Palladium Fantasy than I do, I don't necessarily have a problem being in an alternate book, because I think that's what they did with second editions. They put them in an alternate book. But I could be wrong about that. But thank you for the $10, and yeah. So
yeah, this whole I missed that whole thing of you're not able to have like demon and devils anymore. But like I said, I was in Quebec, and that didn't really reach us at all. This whole satanic panic.
So yeah, second edition changed it from demons became the Tanari, and devils became the Batsu.
Yeah,
that really wasn't a thing until 1991 or 2, when Planescape started getting some stride behind it, and that was when we're like, what? Oh, we've just been using demons and devils in these games. Yeah, mind you, that wasn't me. I wasn't playing the game at that time.
The best setting, though.
So, we could beat this down, but I think we're approaching a good end of this stream. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'm getting messages from some folks. Apparently, Condor's still doing his thing. Whatever, I don't care.
Great. Make $1 million, Condor. Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, hey, TPS made $1 million, right? Now Condor can too, and I'll be
$1 million.
Total Party Skills.
I'm far prettier than that man.
No. He did it through his house and so forth. But hey,
Yeah.
good on him. Look, like it's funny. Like just because I rant doesn't mean I hate you. Just because I say things, then when you piss me off, well, then I say stuff like what I said earlier. But I expect you'll probably say the same about me. So.
There's very few people I hate. It's like you don't have time to waste or energy to waste on hating. You can dislike
used to
people,
hate
and you just like.
Condor. I'm not gonna lie. I used to hate Condor. I used to actually want to travel up to Canada to whoop his ass.
Oh,
And
really?
I thought about it.
Look,
like,
to be fair, and if Condor's still listening, Bruce would send me messages. I'd be like, man, come on. Like, Condor doesn't bug me like that. Yeah, he says some things, whatever. Bruce would be like, I hate him. Condor.
Bruce-
But the funny thing is we flipped the script on somebody else. So there's somebody I really hated that Bruce was like, it's not so bad. I'm trying to help him out. So.
Bruce, I wish I could give you a better reason to travel to Canada if one day you want to.
yeah, the travel options are still open. So that might be happening soon.
Yeah.
Maybe not 2023, but 2024, 25. I've got to get up there at some point and see a friend of mine, see a relative up there too. Vancouver area. What province are you
I'm
at?
far from
But
that.
he's
I mean,
on the
Ontario.
other side.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're from Alberta and Freedom Island?
Ontario. I'm Ontario.
Ontario. Okay.
Wait, which part of Ontario?
I'm just right next to Quebec. I'm a tax refugee.
Okay. Because as you say, Heathen Dog lives across the street from Toronto, as far as I'm concerned. And
Oh no, I'm far from. I'm closer to Montreal than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm
Okay.
in Ontario.
So fantastic stream. Thank you, Game with ADHD. Fantastic stream today. Lots of good topics. Yeah, cats, stop growling. I'm trying to have a fucking stream here. Jesus. Anyway, I opened the door and now they're all going apeshit. But yeah, some of these streams where I don't have topics actually become more fun. Sometimes they're a little more dangerous, but they become more fun because people throw out things and we just go with them. Where the ones that do have topics might be a little bit more static and a little bit more focused, I guess you could say. But it also means that we don't chat as much with you guys. So I like this. Had a good group of people on. Hungar was on. Victor was on. I'm missing one, aren't I?
Randy from Biggest.
Oh yeah, Randy from Biggest Geeks was on as well. So thank you for popping in here, Mr. Max. Of course, Bruce. I don't think you've been on in a while, so I'm glad to have you back on here. I'm not closing it out this second, so we can still talk about a couple of things, but I am winding it down. So if we got any final things to say, let's do that, and I think we'll call it a stream.
I wanted to clear the air. I mean, I just with Shauner, I know Shauner probably might still have me blocked. I don't care if he does or not. It's just I don't want him to think that I can't stand him. It's just like that hot take he had. Okay, well, I had a hot take back. That's pretty much how that works.
I didn't see your hot take back, and now I need to go look at that because I like watching those.
It was at the start of a stream like 2 months ago, like right after he put out this video talking about what's this guy doing? Why does he have hexes on top of a grid? Why is he a human die roller? All of the players at the table got a chance to watch that because somebody else, not me, sent it to them. Somebody else did. And they're like, oh, this guy's roasted. First, 10, 15 minutes of the entire game, totally derailed talking about this. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with Sean. If he wants to do that, go for reaction videos.
Let's be open and honest here. I much prefer the type of game RPG is dumb has run for us than a game that you run. But I don't bust your balls over because that's apparently what your players want. Your style is different than mine in that regard, and it works for you guys. I mean, it's the same thing about the whole Pathfinder thing. I cannot stand 3.0 in Pathfinder. To me, there's very little redeeming value that I can't find in almost every other game out there. But it works for James Elkove, and I really like the way he runs his games, right? Like it works for some people. Play your game, have fun. Your players, as long as people keep coming back to the table and having fun with it, I'm just another asshole out here with an opinion.
Did you see the game I ran 2 Thursdays ago on Table Breakers?
I did not. I knew you ran one, but I did not watch it.
Okay. Well, we're going to resume that this coming Thursday. I'm looking forward to that. That's my beta.
When you say it is different, it lets people enjoy what they enjoy as well. There's they don't force you to play their game, and that goes from our side, it goes from the other side as well. We can each do our thing on our side, and that's fine. And I wanted to reply to comment in the chat if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Say if we wrap the stream now, it's still St. Patrick's Day. Well, technically it's past midnight in the Eastern time, which is the time that matter for the Irish because they're all in the Eastern time zone. And No Art asked if Palladium Rift got popular in Quebec, because like I know that Quebec is something in Palladium, but to my knowledge, like I had no exposure to Rift at all growing up playing an RPG in Quebec. So I would say no. Maybe because the book didn't get translated or something like that. That something happened. They're not just brought over. Maybe in Montreal per se had some, but outside of that, we didn't see them at all.
Okay.
So that's all I wanted to reply to those comments.
Cool. Nope, that's good stuff, Mr. Max. Been a pleasure to have you on again. Like I said, Bruce, thank you for popping on in here. I think I'm gonna basically end this now. I don't have anything else to add to whatever's going on. Shauner, so my understanding of this is what I was told. The reason Shauner blocked people is he decided to block everybody that did AD&D adventure gaming or whatever it is. That, again, it's just right. I'm glad to see you back. I hope you're still in comments. If not, maybe you've gone to bed, maybe you're making your own video or whatever. But no, I was glad to see you in chat. I forget the guy's name, but the person who posted who disagrees a lot with this was in there. Dude, no, look, I saw chat getting pretty heated a couple hours ago over a topic. I forget what it was about. And I don't care. I let it go. You know, Elle says some things that makes people angry. What's this guy? This No Heart guy was saying some things that was making people angry. You're allowed to do that. I welcome it. Like, it just, the only thing that I say is don't spam. And if you get to the point where one of my mods has to stick up because they know to kind of just not do things, then there's probably a problem. But that happens so rarely now. Only one person ever got banned. I'm telling you that. Well, other than the porn spammers. So, you know, it's okay to have different opinions in the chat. It's okay to even get a little heated. Please stay away from the personal attacks. I know, Max, you didn't. I know. I was having fun. You know, but, you know, it is what it is. Absolutely. We want you guys to in chat to hash it out. Then I don't have to hash it out. Because I'm just another one dumb person. If I keep telling people I'm one dumb person with opinion, everybody's going to stop watching, just have their own opinions. No, come and have my opinion. You know, but with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I'll talk with probably Mr. Max and Bruce for a couple minutes after the stream. 8 hours. No, thank you everybody for being here. Really do appreciate it. Remember to like, subscribe, share. You know, YouTubers say that crap all the time, but it's really what helps the world go around. By the way, ad rates for everybody have gone down again. So thank you sincerely for all the memberships and super chats tonight, because that's the only thing that kind of keeps us going anymore is the ad. Who cares about the 1,000 subscribers for ad rates? Just give me those damn super chats, because ads are nothing. So, all right, everybody, you all have a wonderful night.